Chapter 983. When Zi Sheqing returned to her room, she remembered that she did not tell Chu Yang about the battle between the Moon Breeze duo. She thought to herself, there's no harm in telling him tomorrow, he might not mind anyway. But, the Moon Breeze duo's Moon Breeze technique, to have a child. Chu Yang, this is my present for you. I hope you can hold on to it well. Before dawn, a white shadow shot out from Zi Sheqing's room and disappeared in a flash. Chu Yang, who was meditating, heard a sentence clearly, I'll go and take a look at the first step. The voice was as weak as gossamer. Chu Yang opened his eyes, and the corners of his mouth revealed a subtle smile. Then he frowned slightly and thought to himself, this matter, it would be better if Diwu Qingru knew about it, because this would benefit the Diwu clan. Diwu Qingru would naturally plan accordingly. Thinking of this, Chu Yang felt a little regretful. He should not have borrowed someone else's knife to kill Diwu Qingyun so early on. Now, he did not even have a messenger. Chu Yang frowned and thought bitterly, how can I let this matter reach Diwu Qingru's ears? The white shadow circled around Tianji City like the wind and landed with a swoosh. With a shake of his hand, he flipped a window and a ray of white light shot in like lightning. In the room, Yi Shifeng and Yi Shiyu were waiting anxiously. Why aren't they back yet? Could it be that something happened? Just as Yi Shifeng finished his sentence, the window was shattered. A ray of white light was nailed onto the beam of the room. It was a short sword that shone with cold light. On top of it, there was a snow-white note. There seemed to be words written on it with fresh blood. Yi Shiyu leaped up and pulled it out. There were only 4 words written in red on it, overestimating yourself. Angry roars could be heard as the experts of the Yi clan leaped onto the roof. Yi Shifeng and his brother also hurried out. A masked white shadow stood afar. When he saw everyone coming out, he let out a contemptuous laugh and pointed a finger at everyone. He sneered and said, Yi clan, pa. With a loud laugh, the white shadow turned into a white line. He flew into the distance. The few supreme martial artists of the Yi clan were enraged. They shouted angrily, chase. Several people chased after him like shooting stars. However, the white figure had already disappeared without a trace. In another part of the city, a white figure descended from the sky. At the same time, his white robe strangely turned black. The color of the night. The white shadow turned into a black shadow. But now, no one could tell that the shadow was a woman. Her body had become short and fat. Like a shooting star, he rushed into an inn. Without any hesitation, he threw out a palm strike. With a loud boom, a few of the best rooms in an inn were smashed into pieces. The black shadow said in a low voice, you don't know what's good for you. How dare trash like you think you can enter the triumphant St. Clan's treasury? Come out, this old man will teach you all a lesson. If you know what's good for you, scram. Before he could finish his words, a few people who were furious jumped out with a swoosh. The Ling clan's supreme martial artists were truly furious. First, they were ruthlessly humiliated by a woman on the road, but their strength was inferior, so they could only swallow their anger. However, their hearts were already exploding from holding it in. After coming to Tianji City and receiving news about supreme martial artists Feng and Yu, they were even more pressured. After last night, Shan Deku and the rest came back to discuss until midnight. Just as they were about to rest for a while, their rooms were suddenly destroyed. Moreover, the things he said were even more baffling. Do they think our Ling clan is made of mud? Who dares to bully us just because they want to? There's no end to this. The white robe flashed and appeared outside the inn. The man in black opposite seemed to be startled. He laughed dryly. Sorry, I mistook you for someone else. He turned and left. Mistook you for someone else? Hearing this, everyone was so angry that their bellies were about to explode. Why didn't you mistake the beggar for your father? You even destroyed the room, and now you say you mistook me for someone else? In their fury, the 4 supreme martial artists attacked at the same time. However, the man in black was already far away. How could the 4 of them let it go? How could the Ling clan's reputation be so easily humiliated? If they didn't get an explanation for this matter, they wouldn't be able to survive in the future. The 4 of them gave their orders and chased after him. The four of them were so angry that their chests were about to explode, early in the morning by the Shuiyu Lake. The morning mist was drifting. Yi Shifeng, Yi Shiyu and the three elders in black stood by the lake. They looked at the two corpses that were too horrible to look at. Their faces were very ugly. They followed the man in white here. However, he had disappeared without a trace. Instead, they found these two corpses. Yi Shifeng exclaimed on the spot. It turned out that this man led them here to see these two corpses. In other words, it was a show of force. Yi Shifeng and Yi Shiyu looked at each other and saw the regret and disbelief in each other's eyes. Both of them didn't expect that two 8th-grade martial saints would die on the spot trying to kill a small Chu Yang. One of the corpses was already covered with ants. There were even spiders, bees, and even some wasps and other insects. It was already impossible to tell that it was a corpse. The other corpse's brain was splattered and it was lying stiffly in the mud. Its face was distorted and there was still a trace of extreme fear on its face. The five of them looked at it for a long time. In the end, they still couldn't understand what could have caused such a martial saint expert to be so fearful even in death. This was the most difficult death in history. One of the three elders in black stood with his hands behind his back. His expression didn't change. At this moment he slowly walked forward and took a closer look. He said, "Since he wants us to take a look, let's take a good look." With a wave of his hand, his sleeves suddenly rolled up. The insects and ants hanging on the corpse on the tree were instantly wiped clean. Everyone looked at the hideous appearance of the corpse. They all took in a breath of cold air. They only felt that their internal organs were about to be churned. It was too tragic. It's the night sky and night clouds. This person walked forward slowly and looked expressionlessly. Then, he glanced at the corpse on the ground and sighed. Good move. The person who did this is definitely the most ruthless official in the world. He pondered for a while and his eyes revealed that he was deep in thought. It's a super ruthless official, an expert, and a typical executioner like the King of Hell. He pointed with his finger and sighed again. It's really a good move. This person's grasp of the mentality of an expert is also the best in the world. Yi Shifeng and the other elder did not understand. Elder Master, what do you mean? This person smiled faintly and pointed with his finger. He said, he first broke Yi Kong's jaw and then severed his elixir field. In this way, Yi Kong could only let him do whatever he wanted. Then, his next step was to cleanly destroy Yi Kong's lower body. This branch should have pierced through his skull and nailed him to the tree at that time. He pointed at the branch. This person's corpse was leaning against this branch that was not considered thick. It was hung on the tree and was still standing. The end of the branch was on his forehead and it was still green. Then he should have broken all the bones in Yi Kong's body one by one. Then he made cuts all over his body. First, he poured salt water into the wounds and then covered them with salt. Then he used honey and scraped the salt into the flesh that had already been cut open. Yi Kong died. His body and soul were destroyed and his soul was scattered. He was tortured to this state. This elder was silent for a while and said, "It's really a good move. But even if it was a deep hatred, it would have been fine to just kill him. Why did he have to torture him to death so cruelly?" Yi Shifeng was filled with righteous indignation and his eyes were slightly red. These two people were sent by him. It could be said that it was because of him that they died. Yi Shifeng did not feel good about it. "Idiot!" The elder scolded in a low voice and said, "Do you think that he tortured Yi Kong just to vent his anger and torment him verbally? Is it not?" Yi Shifeng was so angry that his whole body trembled. This murderous executioner, he tortured Yi Kong until his soul was scattered. Isn't that still torturing Yi Kong? The elder sighed and said, he did this to make use of Yi Kong's cruelty to destroy Yi Yun's psychological defense. Yi Kong and Yi Yun are both 8th-grade martial saints. If the two of them were to be tortured together, no matter how cruel the torture was, they would still be able to endure till the end and would not say anything. However, he only tortured Yi Kong alone. He did not even touch a single finger of Yi Yun. As such, when Yi Yun saw his brother being tortured, he felt much worse than being tortured himself. This is because when you are being tortured, when you are in extreme pain, you will only think of the pain and will not think of anything else. Therefore, the crueler the torture, the easier it is for those who are stubborn to endure until they die. However, those who are watching by the side will definitely not. This is because his thinking is very flexible. Therefore, he was imagining what would happen if he was the one being tortured. This kind of thinking is definitely not of his own volition. Therefore, Yi Kong did not say anything in the beginning and did not say anything in the end. This person did not even need to ask because he knew that Yi Kong would not say anything. His main target was Yi Yun. Therefore, when Yi Kong died, Yi Yun had already collapsed. Otherwise, this person would definitely not have let Yi Kong die. Look at Yi Yun's eyes. Are they filled with fear when he died? Look at his face. Are there still traces of fear? I knew. This person already knew what he wanted to know. The elder took in a deep breath. If he is not a veteran of torture, he will definitely not know this method. Shifeng, this time, all of you have gotten yourself into big trouble. Could it be Chu Yang? Yi Xiu lowered his head and asked softly. Probably not. The elder's eyes were calm as he said, from what all of you have said, that young man is not even 20 years old. At such a young age, even if he is from a big clan, he may not be able to be so scheming. Not to mention, killing 2 8th-grade martial saints. At this moment, a black shadow came from afar. There were actually a few white shadows chasing after him. Looking at the black clothes, they seemed to be from the Yi clan. Seeing the 5 of them standing here, he sped up and ran over. The 5 of them frowned. Who was this person who was so audacious? How dare he chase after people from the Yi clan? Let's not talk about anything else. Let's not talk about sensitive topics. I have danced with ink and wrote a poem. Brothers, please have a taste. I am very satisfied. Yan Huang men can do it. Throughout the ages, Wuxia was full of romance. Better to endure humiliation than revenge. Jianghu has the bones of a hero. How many heroes remain in the wind and clouds? Why not fight with their swords and sabers? How can we let our seniors be humiliated again? Slay all the bastards and pirates, slay all the bastards. 5,000 years of glory, 80,000 miles of beauty. We have a heart of loyalty and iron bones. Chapter 984. The black figure was getting closer and closer. From a small, it could be seen that this was a short and slightly bloated person. There were not many people like this in the Yi clan's team, but there were definitely more than enough of them. Suddenly, the black figure staggered and fell to the ground. Then he bounced back up with all his might. Yi Shifeng blurted out, "Not good." Everyone could see that this person was injured. Because of this stagger, the figure behind him quickly caught up with him and struck him with a palm from afar. Just as the black figure bounced back up, the fatal palm was about to hit him. He blurted out, "Save?" Before he could finish his sentence, his body was hit by the powerful palm. He paused strangely in midair, then he raised his head and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, his body suddenly split into pieces in midair and turned into a bloody mist. It had completely disappeared. One palm strike actually caused a person to vanish into thin air. Gone. The 5 members of the Yi clan clearly saw the figure suddenly stop, and then the body suddenly split apart, shattering into pieces in the air. Then the 4 limbs and the head exploded with a bang. It was a terrifying process. The 5 of them looked at this scene solemnly, and their eyes were filled with extreme anger. The elder's face also became cold and hard. He said plainly, "One palm strike into the void. This is a technique that only a supreme martial artist can use. Looks like the Ling clan is determined." Yi Shifeng and Yi Xiu kept their mouths shut and did not say a word. The other 2 supreme martial artists looked as if they were about to spit fire. They looked over and clenched their fists tightly. Normally, they would not be so angry. However, they had just seen the tragic corpses of 2 experts from their clan. Furthermore, they were lured here by someone else. This was obviously a show of force. Then, they saw another expert from their clan being smashed into pieces right in front of them. This was simply adding fuel to the fire. Even the elder master, who had great composure, had a face full of anger, not to mention the others. There was a mindset here. The other party was a white figure that lured them here. There were 2 corpses here, waiting here. The corpses belonged to the Yi clan. And the person in black who was smashed into pieces just now seemed to be from the Yi clan too. And the white figure chasing behind him was similar to the previous white figure. First, 2 people died, and now 1 died in front of them. Motherfucker! Are you done with your demonstration? Unknowingly, he had placed the 3 blood debts on this group of people in white. Let's go and take a look. The 5 of them floated out at the same time. When the 5 of them arrived, the 4 supreme beings of the Ling clan had also arrived. When they saw each other, they suddenly stopped and looked at each other from 50 feet away. Everyone's face was solemn. In the depths of his eyes, there was a faint trace of anger. They were all trying their best to restrain themselves. I was wondering who was so overbearing. So it's you guys. These words came out of the 2 people's mouths at the same time, without missing a single word. The old ancestor of the Yi clan and the supreme martial artist of the Ling clan. It was as if the lines had been rehearsed. Ho ho ho! The eyes of this old ancestor of the Yi clan flashed, and he laughed coldly. He was the first to speak and said, "Brother Ling, this is indeed a good move. Good kung fu." A single slap was enough to make a person disappear into thin air. I'm impressed. Supreme martial artist Ling's face turned even gloomier. God knew that he didn't even try to kill him just now. That person led him all the way here, and he couldn't do anything to him at all. That person's cultivation was definitely not below his. That slap just now was only meant to injure him or stop him from escaping. That was all. Who would have thought that with a palm strike, it would actually directly smash the person into nothingness? This motherfucker really caught him off guard. He was a little stunned and a little angry, but he saw that the people of the Yi clan had been waiting here for a long time, and they actually dared to speak first and denounce him. Instantly, a wave of anger rose. Oh, Brother Yi, you're really in a good mood, coming to admire the scenery of the lake so early in the morning. What a good mood, what a good mood, Supreme Martial Artist Ling laughed coldly, and said in a rather strange tone. When the old ancestor of the Yi clan heard this, he almost couldn't hold it in. Good mood? Good mood. If I wasn't lured out by you bunch of bastards, why would I come here so early in the morning? Hearing this, he put on a fake smile and said, Brother Ling is indeed an expert. You can actually see with a single glance that we are here to admire the scenery of the lake. Ha ha, such eyesight, such wisdom, it is indeed like the fart of a celestial being. It is truly extraordinary. The supreme martial artist Ling's face darkened, and he said lightly, Yi Zhangzue. What does the Yi clan mean by this? This old ancestor of the Yi clan was the 4th grandfather, Yi Zhangzi. When he heard this, no matter how well-mannered he was, he couldn't help but ask, Ling Yuanshan, what do I mean? I'd like to ask you, what does the Ling clan mean by this? Ling Yuanshan laughed coldly, and looked at Yi Zhangzue with a cold gaze. He said word by word, the Ling clan has never provoked the Yi clan. You shouldn't have. Yi Zhangzue narrowed his eyes and said, the Yi clan has never wanted to be enemies with the Ling clan, but you, Ling Yuanshan, killed my men in front of me. He's indeed one of your men. Ling Yuanshan's eyes were as sharp as knives. But he was killed by you. Yi Zhangzue raised his head, and his eyes were as dark as the night. Well done, Ling Yuanshan said. Yi Zhangzue laughed coldly and said lightly, this is blood. This is a human life. Ling Yuanshan, do you know that this is hatred? Ling Yuanshan laughed coldly and said, I know that too. This is dignity, this is reputation. Yi Zhangzue laughed loudly and said, what a joke. What a joke. What dignity. What nonsense reputation. Ling Yuanshan's pupils constricted, and he said lightly, Yi Zhangzue, it seems like there's going to be a battle between you and me. Don't you want to battle with me? Yi Zhangzue looked at him provocatively and said, if you don't battle with me, everything that you've done is a joke. Ling Yuanshan stood with his hands behind his back and said lightly, I've fought with the heavens, the earth, and humans. I've never retreated in the past 3,000 years. He laughed coldly and his eyes turned cold. However, the Yi family is too despicable. You want to drag the Ling family into this mess for the sake of an elder of the divine tribe. Yi Zhangzue, you've got a good plan. Yi Zhangzue was shocked. He looked deeply at Ling Yuanshan and said, Ling Yuanshan, how did you know about this? Ling Yuanshan shook his head and laughed. I didn't know. You told me. I told you. Yi Zhangzue stopped the four people behind him. He frowned and glanced behind him. Suddenly he asked softly, Ling Yuanshan, your Ling family wasn't here last night? Ling Yuanshan was stunned and said, You mean we were instigated? Both of them were second-grade supreme martial artists and had surpassed the boundary between immortals and mortals. Although they were angry, their minds would not be affected by this. Just as the two of them were about to fight, Ling Yuanshan's words woke Yi Zhangzue up from his stupor. You told me. But how could I tell others about this? Could it be the man in black? Yi Zhangzue thought of this in an instant. Shifeng, go back and check, see who's missing. Yi Zhangzue frowned and changed his mind. Duding, you go. Shifeng can't do it alone. A second-grade supreme martial artist behind him agreed. He stood up and disappeared like a puff of green smoke. Yi Zhangzue turned around and looked at Ling Yuanshan. They looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Ling Yuanshan shook his head and laughed. If you really wanted to fight with me, you wouldn't have used such a childish method. Now that Yi Zhangzue's men had left, Ling Yuanshan believed Yi Zhangzue. At their level, some things did not need to be said. None of them were fools. Yi Zhangzue smiled bitterly and said, That's right. We were lured out by a white figure. When we came here, we found the bodies of 2 martial saints from the Yi clan. Then you appeared. Ling Yuanshan's eyes narrowed. Bodies of martial saints from the Yi clan? The two of them looked at each other. They could faintly feel that they had fallen into a huge conspiracy. Yi Zhangzue did not say much and led the way to the lake. Looking at the 2 bodies, even with Ling Yuanshan's cultivation, he took a deep breath. The 3 people behind him were even more shocked. Their throats itched and they almost vomited. Everyone was silent. Now that things had come to this, the truth had been clarified. They had been instigated. But, even if they had been instigated, they could not take back what they had said just now. Regardless of whether it was Ling Yuanshan or Yi Zhangzue, they had planted a nail in each other's heart. The Yi clan could not be humiliated. How could the Ling clan be provoked so easily? The 2 clans each had their own dignity and bottom line. Although what the 2 of them had said was not too bad, as third-grade supreme martial artists, saying such things was 10,000 times worse than ordinary people cursing. Not to mention, there was the matter of the divine tribe elder. Once this secret was exposed, the Yi clan would feel uncomfortable, and so would the Ling clan. Even if the Ling clan said that they had no ulterior motives, who in the Yi clan would believe them? Moreover, how much benefit would there be? It was hard to explain. Even the Yi clan, the number 1 clan among the great clans, had such a scheme, let alone the Ling clan. Yi Zhangzue and Ling Yuanshan looked at each other and smiled bitterly. The 2 of them clearly knew that although they had not really fought, from this moment on, the relationship between the Ling clan and the Yi clan would not be the same as before. Yi Zhangzue thought, will the Ling clan interfere in this matter? Ling Yuanshan was thinking, divine tribe elder? What benefits are there in this? Why is the Zhuge clan so precious that even the Yi clan covets it? This matter, it is hard to think about. The Ling clan. Ling Yuanshan immediately stopped himself from thinking about this matter. However, this thought had taken root in his mind and could not be removed. There was something to be said. Tomorrow, the 15th of the month, is Aoshi's birthday. Tonight, I will work overtime to write my story. Tomorrow, I will release as much as I can. After 2 a.m., I will release it at 8:30 a.m. or 9 a.m. Chapter 985. Not long after, Yi Duding arrived like a whirlwind. He looked at Yi Zhangzue and wanted to say something. Speak, Yi Zhangzue said. It's not one of us. A trace of bitterness appeared on Yi Duding's face. I went back to take a look. Everyone is safe and sound. Other than Yi Tian and Yun, they are all here. Everyone was silent. Ling Yuanshan sighed and said, "Brother Yi, this is a huge conspiracy, and we have already fallen into it. Although we don't know who the hidden enemy is, at least for now, their target has already been set on us." Yi Zhangzue frowned and nodded. For this instigation, the other party paid the price with the life of an expert. It was almost like he committed suicide and gave his life to my hands. Ling Yuanshan looked at Yi Zhangzue. In this world, other than the big clans, who else can have such a death warrior? Yi Zhangzue's face turned even darker. He swallowed his saliva and said, "Brother Ling, what do you mean?" Ling Yuanshan smiled faintly. This happened because the enemy wanted to reap the benefits, so their target must be that so-called divine tribe elder. Only when both our clans suffer losses will they be able to reap the benefits. Brother Yi, don't you think so? When he said the words sacred tribe elder, his voice paused for a moment. He didn't want to pause, but when the words were about to come out of his mouth, he couldn't help but pause. When Yi Zhangzue heard Ling Yuanshan say, divine tribe elder, he felt conflicted and uncomfortable. This has nothing to do with the Ling clan. What are you doing? He even emphasized it, damn. He raised his eyebrows and said coldly, Brother Ling, what do you mean? Brother Yi, please be honest with me. Ling Yuanshan smiled coldly. The Ling clan can't be used by others. Yi Zhangzue pondered for a while and said slowly, previously, the two clans joined forces and paid a huge price to capture the third elder of the divine tribe. These two clans are the Zhuge clan and the Lan clan. The Lan clan. Ling Yuanshan's eyes narrowed. This matter is extremely confidential. Currently, only the four of us know about this matter. As for our Yi clan, it was only a while ago that we received a mysterious letter and found out about this matter. Yi Zhangzue looked at Ling Yuanshan and said, I won't say anything else. Brother Ling, you and I are both from aristocratic families. You should know that with 10,000 years of inheritance, aristocratic families need to be cautious in their actions. Ling Yuanshan said indifferently, our Ling family knows what to do and what not to do. But this loss, we can't take it for nothing. Yi Zhangzue was exasperated. Did you suffer a loss? Why didn't I see how you guys suffered? 2 members of our Yi clan have died, but you haven't lost a single hair. Instead, you've received such a huge piece of news out of nowhere, and you still say that you've suffered a loss. He just wanted a piece of the pie. If you want to be a bitch, don't put up a monument to your chastity. You want to take advantage of me, but you put on such an aggrieved face. I despise you. Both sides had their own ulterior motives and left separately. No one noticed that a white shadow had flashed by on a nearby tree. Chu Yang had already woken up and was washing Chu Le's hair. Although the little girl had the ability to take care of herself, the weather had turned cold and her hair was too long. Washing her hair would make her clothes wet. It wouldn't be good if she caught a cold. The little girl didn't have any cultivation now, and it would be uncomfortable if she fell sick. Therefore, Chu Yang personally took a basin of hot water, pressed his younger sister's head into it, and started to wash it. Chu Le sat on a small stool obediently and stretched her neck out to let her brother wash her hair. Her little heart was filled with happiness and contentment. Chu Yang felt a pair of big hands finish washing his hair. Then, he ran his hands over his scalp until it was clean. After 3 basins of water, Chu Yang finally stopped. He wrapped his hair in a big towel to retain the water. Then he circulated his martial energy and his hair dried. He removed the towel, and her hair was slightly messy. Your hair is past your butt. Chu Yang took a comb and combed her hair gently. He said affectionately. Chu Yang's hand slid her hair gently. At this moment, Chu Yang suddenly felt a little absent-minded. When they were in the lower 3 heavens, he would help Jianghu wash her hair every time. Her hair was soft and smooth with a silky texture. Every time he touched it, he couldn't bear to part with it. Lu's hair was also so smooth. However, compared to Emo Qingwu's hair, it seemed a little softer. Chu Yang combed her hair gently. Suddenly, his heart trembled. He suddenly thought of his black robe and that strand of hair under the black robe. That line of small words. Chu Yang, Qian likes you. Chu Yang's hand paused and he let out a long sigh. Suppressing the inexplicable feeling in his heart, he continued to comb Chu Le's hair. Chu Le's body was covered in a gauze. She sat obediently and let her brother comb her hair. The little girl's eyes were full of happiness and contentment. Suddenly, she felt Chu Yang's hand stop. Then, she sighed and couldn't help but turn around and ask, "Big brother, did you think of someone again?" Chu Yang didn't expect this little girl to be so sensitive. He smiled and said, "Yes." Chu Le giggled. "You thought of sister-in-law?" Chu Yang chuckled and couldn't help but touch his nose. He thought to himself, "Yes, your sister-in-law who's about the same age as you. Sister-in-law is so mysterious. It's been so long, and I haven't seen her." Chu Le wrinkled her nose and said, "It doesn't feel good to let my big brother live like a widow." Chu Yang coughed violently. He reached out and flicked the little girl's head. He scolded, "Little girl, what are you saying?" Chu Lu cried out in pain. However, her eyes were full of smiles. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. Live like a widow, this little girl's words are really a stroke of genius. I've never heard of a man being a widow. Chu Yang looked at himself with some resentment. It seems that I'm also a widow now? Speaking of which duke of such a big family like me doesn't have a few wives and concubines? Some already have a group of children. Even third uncle Chu Feiyan's eldest son, Chu Lu's eldest brother Chu Dingxiao, already has a main wife, a secondary wife and 3 concubines. As for me, the eldest grandson of the Chu clan, I don't want to think about it anymore. The more I think about it, the more I think about life. Thinking of Mo Qingwu's innocent eyes, Chu Yang felt that he was very sinful and very shameless. "You're a beast." Chu Yang sighed and despised himself. "Big brother, what did you say?" Chu Le asked curiously. Cough, I mean. Chu Yang rolled his eyes. "I mean, as a human, you can't be a beast." Chu Le laughed and suddenly asked, "Sister-in-law is younger than you, right?" Chu Yang was stunned. "Every time you comb my hair, you'll be distracted." Chu Le said with certainty, "So, sister-in-law is definitely younger than you. She's just a few years older than me, right?" Chu Yang was in a difficult position. Chu Le wanted to ask more, but a white figure flashed and Zi Sheqing finally returned. Chu Yang felt as if he had been pardoned. He hastily tied his long hair into a silly braid and went up to her. "You're back. How was it?" Chu Le pouted angrily behind him. "Stupid big brother." Touching her hair that had been tied into a silly braid, she was speechless. Chu Yang only pretended not to know. Overall, it was quite smooth. Zi Sheqing said, "But it's a pity that these 2 clans didn't fight on the spot." Chu Yang smiled and said, "If they were to fight, I would really look down on them. As long as the Ling clan knows about this matter, it's enough. This move will only be effective in the future." Zi Sheqing nodded and said, "They're already suspecting the Lan clan." Chu Yang's eyes lit up. "And I've also received an important piece of news." Zi Sheqing said, "The Yi clan didn't know about this at first. I heard that they only knew about this because they received a mysterious letter." "Mysterious letter?" Chu Yang frowned tightly. "Who wrote this letter to make the Yi clan believe in this matter? Who is the person who wants to stir up trouble?" Chu Yang pondered and his eyes became more and more certain. For the next few days, Chu Yang stayed in the Orchard Palace and didn't show himself. He only sparred with Zi Sheqing and comprehended the Tao state every day. These few days he was really tortured by Zi Sheqing. The sword spirit didn't stay idle either. He used his divine senses to search for the location of the sword intent, but to no avail. He also couldn't find the location of the colored lotus. The entire Tianji city was peaceful. Many people came one after another these few days. On the first day, the Lan clan finally arrived, followed by the Shi clan. Then, a few law enforcement masters from other regions came with their men. Every day, someone would come to report to Chu Yang, but Chu Yang ignored all these matters. After elders Feng and Yu's younger brother entered Tianji city, he was finally discovered by the Zhuge clan. Then, the Zhuge clan welcomed this female ancestor into their residence and gave her a grand welcome. Many young men from the Zhuge clan saw Wu Qianqian's outstanding beauty and were moved by her. Instantly, there were countless suitors. None of them dared to use any despicable methods. All of them were righteous, elegant, and extremely confident. They all looked like elegant gentlemen and beautiful youths in the mortal world. But each of them had that kind of thought in their hearts. Wu Qianqian's appearance, talent and temperament were all one in a million. Moreover, her identity was so prominent that she was even more the target of all the big clans. Elder Feng and Yu's younger brother. If this Miss Wu was willing to marry into their clan, it would mean that their clan would gain the support of Elders Feng and Yu. This was a pie that fell from the sky. Not to mention Wu Qianqian's outstanding beauty, even if she looked like a sow, these men would also fight to get her. Whoever married the disciple of Elders Feng and Yu would have a meteoric rise in his status in the clan. At that time, Elders Feng and Yu would say, "My disciple's husband is actually not the clan leader?" Just think about it. What kind of touching scene is that? Thinking of this, everyone became even more excited and motivated. Two things. First, I created a poll in the comment section, "Where are you from?" and welcome everyone to vote. Second, the moderator and main moderator Dao Dao are doing Pride of the World. Everyone who is interested can participate. After writing a draft, you can enter the group to find Dao Dao. He will publish it in Pride of the World. No matter where you are, you can write it. Everyone can look for him when the time comes. Let me introduce Dao Dao, also known as Second Dao, also known as Jing Dao, also known as Jing Goods, also known as Little Tian Tian, age unknown, appearance unknown, gender unknown. Chapter 986. For a period of time, the younger members of the Zhuge clan were fighting both openly and covertly. On the surface, everyone appeared to be friendly and courteous. However, they were secretly sabotaging each other, bad-mouthing each other and sabotaging each other. In just a few days, rumors were flying all over the place. Countless illegitimate sons and daughters of the Zhuge clan had appeared out of nowhere. Hence, the smell of gunpowder became stronger. This phenomenon gave Zhuge Shanyun a headache. He did not expect that not only did he bring in a female ancestor, she was also a troublemaker. However, Zhuge clan master's worry only lasted for a short period of time. This was because this group of people had their own opponents. After Yi Shifeng of the Yi clan saw Wu Qianqian, he was actually a little mesmerized. It was not known whether it was because of her beauty or her status, but he joined the ranks of the pursuers. Every day, he would wait at the foot of the building, looking forward to it. Wearing the fitting black clothes of the Yi clan, he looked even more majestic. After another day, the people of the Lan clan also arrived. After arriving, the male members of the Zhuge clan could not wait to join the battle of beauty. In addition, the Yi clan, Lan clan, and Zhuge clan already had a grudge against each other. At this moment, they became even more rivals in love. Instantly, the security was tight and it became a tripartite situation. The other male members of the smaller aristocratic clans all retreated. Only Yi Shifeng of the Yi clan, Zhuge Changchang of the Zhuge clan and Lan Changge of the Lan clan were left staring at each other. For a moment, the crowd was like a flock of peacocks in heat. They all opened their tails. There were even people who started a bet to see who could capture the heart of this immortal. All the dukes participated in the bet. Tianji City was instantly bustling with noise and excitement. The news spread very quickly. The people of the other big clan were originally still on the way. However, when the Duke of Mengsa heard that the most beautiful woman in the world had appeared here, he immediately became eager to protect her. He was afraid that the beauty would be taken advantage of. He actually abandoned the main group. He rushed here alone in the starry night. The tripartite situation turned into a four-nation war, and it seemed to be getting more and more intense. Once Yi Shifeng arrived, he acted cool. His black face, black robe, and black cloak made him look like a pile of coal. He was so black that he shone and did not move at all. I need to explain first. This Zhuge Changchang lived up to his name. He was tall and slender. His figure could no longer be described as tall and slender. Although he was well proportioned from top to bottom, he was still a little tall. For an average man 178 meters was considered acceptable. Above 1.8 meters he was definitely tall. But this Zhuge Changchang was a full 2.5 meters. Just by standing there, he truly lived up to his name of being the tallest tree in the forest. His white robes made him stand out like a crane among chickens. Grand Duke Zhuge Changchang had always wanted to look at Lady Qianqian's face and discuss her life. What did he want to do? But he never got what he wanted. Lan Chang'e has been singing with a piano in his arms. As soon as Meng Se arrived, he began to compose a poem. The poems he composed on the spot had already been compiled into a book of poems by busybodies. It was said that there were dozens of poems, and the first one was a masterpiece. Within the Zhuge clan, there were many phoenixes seeking for a phoenix. Every day was like a drama. This liveliness was simply, cough cough, in Yi Zhangzue's words, God is farting, extraordinary. However, no matter how many dukes attacked, this black-robed deity had his own set of rules. His expression was always cold. He kept people at arm's length and did not show any respect to anyone. Yi Shifeng was ignored. Zhuge Changchang's request to have his palm read was mercilessly rejected, and he was even scolded. After singing for a few days, Lan Chang'e finally attracted a question, and this question also stopped Lan Gong's singing. At that time, Duke Lan was singing at the top of his voice. The window on the upper floor opened, and an extremely graceful figure in black appeared. Everyone was in an uproar. The eyes of the lady in black were searching downstairs. She seemed to be looking for the person who was singing. At this moment, everyone's hearts stopped beating. She finally found him. She opened her eyes wide and asked Lan Chang'e, "Duke, may I know why you are crying?" Crying? Everyone who heard this began to twitch uncontrollably. Lan Chang'e was the most embarrassed. He twitched his mouth and laughed dryly. "I am singing a song for Lady Qianqian. Please don't. I beg you. This sound is like the sound of a monkey dying in the forest. It's too tragic. These few days when you were singing, I did not sleep well. Duke, please don't cry anymore." After the black-robed figure finished speaking, she slammed the window shut. Lan Chang'e almost fainted. Everyone else almost fainted too. Don't cry anymore? Cry? After being stunned for a while, the crowd burst into laughter. Yi Shifeng, Zhuge Changchang and Meng Se laughed especially loudly. Lan Chang'e glared at the three of them angrily. It was said that Lan Chang'e had invited Zhuge Changchang to a showdown that night, but Zhuge Changchang rejected him. As for Meng Se, he had written so many poems, but they were all lost. In the end, he could not help but ask, "Lady, do you have any comments on my poems?" Wu Qianqian said in surprise, "If you did not mention it, I would not have known that it was a poem. I am really sorry. I have been learning from my teacher since young and have not learned any poems. If you did not mention it, I would have thought that you were reciting it. I was just admiring your diligence." A comment on poems was a huge blow to Meng Se's poetic talent. Without exception, the four of them were defeated. The black-robed girl, Wu Qianqian, was cold and noble. She was like a flower, mysterious and unparalleled. Moreover, this was a kind of temperament that was different from that of a lady from a respectable family. This was the valiance that belonged to a lady of the pugilistic world, combined with the elegance of a noble family, a unique temperament. Cold and noble, like the moon in the sky, unattainable. However, the more noble she was, the colder she was, the more it aroused the desire of these young men to conquer her. Each of them became braver and braver as they faced setbacks. These guys had always wanted beauties and could get anything they wanted. When was there a time when they could not get them? This kind of pursuit that people with discerning eyes would see as hopeless at first glance was actually exactly what this group of men wanted. The more you ignore me, the more I want to pursue you. This was the process that I wanted. Moreover, everyone was too embarrassed to retreat. Moreover, if I were to retreat today, and someone else stole my heart tomorrow, wouldn't that be a huge loss for me? Even if I could not get her, it would be good to stay here and be a troublemaker. I can't get her. Don't even think about getting the beauty back if you're so stubborn. under this kind of mentality of, let the grapes rot on the shelf if you can't get them. The few dukes disliked each other even more. During this period, Yi Shifeng had already fought with Zhuge Changchang once and Lan Chang'e twice. Meng Se fought with each of them. Lan Chang'e was considered the weakest among them. He had panda eyes for 3 consecutive days, but he did not delay his pursuit. Anyway, this lady did not even look at my face. Zhuge Changchang was very unlucky. He was too tall. When he fought with these guys, they all hit his lower body. He was careless. Meng Se hit him like a monkey holding a peach of longevity. Therefore, that peach of longevity was hit hard, causing Zhuge Changchang to stand there with his legs apart for 4 to 5 consecutive days. He also walked with a majestic gait. The 4 dukes pestered her relentlessly. Wu Qianqian was annoyed but could not do anything about it. She knew that Chu Yang was at the Orchard Palace not far away, but she did not dare to go over. If she did, these guys would definitely follow her. That would definitely bring trouble to Chu Yang. But this Chu Yang, Wu Qianqian gritted her teeth in hatred. You know that I'm here too. You didn't even come to take a look. You heartless enemy. Wu Qianqian made a mistake in her thinking. She knew that Tai Butin was a woman, so she did not take her empress seriously. She also did not think that she was married. Subconsciously, there was no such concept. However, Chu Yang clearly knew that Wu Qianqian was now Tai Butian's wife. As the saying goes, a friend's wife, there's no need to be courteous. Why would Chu Yang take the initiative to provoke Wu Qianqian? It was too late to hide. Chu Yang was a normal man. And as he grew older, some of his needs and impulses were also increasing. Sometimes, when he saw a brothel, he would feel bloated. He could only lower his head and quicken his pace. Thinking that he had to endure this for at least 5 years, Chu Yang wanted to cry but had no tears. If Wu Qianqian was by his side now, facing a beauty who did not resist or guard against him, Chu Yang felt that he would not be able to control himself like he did in the lower 3 heavens. If he could not control himself, wouldn't he have made his good brother Tai Budian a cuckold? If a country's monarch was made a cuckold, during this period of time, Chu Yang could only practice with Zi Sheqing every day. He tired himself out every day. After upgrading, he fell asleep immediately. Anyway, with Zi Sheqing around, he would not be in danger no matter how he slept. During this period, Han Xiaoren came over a few times and explained a lot of things to Chu Yang. Nangong Shifeng also became a frequent visitor to the residence. Once there was any new news, Nangong Shifeng would sneak over and talk to him sneakily. Although Chu Yang did not go out much, he knew a lot of information. Now, he was waiting for an opportunity. Moreover, since Chu Yang knew that the Yi clan knew about the Divine Clan Elders matter because they received a letter from a mysterious person, he was relieved. This mysterious person, according to Chu Yang's guess, was definitely Diwu Qingru. Chu Yang was 100% sure. The Lan clan would not leak it. If they wanted to leak it, they would have done so long ago. Because they still wanted to kidnap the Divine Clan without anyone knowing. It was even more impossible for the Zhuge clan to do so. Since this was the case, Chu Yang felt that there was no harm in cooperating with Diwu Qingru without meeting face to face, discussing, planning, or communicating with each other. Chu Yang was very interested in such a situation. He believed that Diwu Qingru would be very interested too. There was also the matter of the 4 Grand Dukes pestering Wu Qianqian. Chu Yang was also watching coldly from the sidelines. The time wasn't right yet. Most of the people hadn't arrived yet. When the situation was completely chaotic and out of control, this matter was also very, very good. It was something that could be put to good use. Chapter 987. Chu Yang had gone through 2 months of hellish days. In these 2 months, Chu Yang and Zi Sheqing battled more than 300 times. Every time, he was squeezed out of his last bit of strength. Every time, he was so tired that he did not even have the energy to blink. At the beginning of the battle, Zi Sheqing still looked down on him and kept provoking him with words. But later on, Zi Sheqing stopped talking. It was not that she did not want to talk, but she could not. How long was Zi Sheqing's life? In her life, The number of geniuses she had seen was truly too many to count. To be honest, Chu Yang's aptitude, even though he was the master of Calamity Sword, was still slightly inferior to those talents in other dimensions. Zi Xueqing still remembered that there was once a young man with heavenly demon bloodline. After his bloodline awakened, he started from an ordinary person and crossed the gap between immortal and mortal overnight. But that was the inherited power of the bloodline, not his own. At least, it was Zi Xueqing's first time seeing someone like Chu Yang who was fighting so hard. Although there was no danger of death in such an intense battle, Zi Xueqing knew the discomfort of being completely drained of energy. He was so tired that he lost all his strength, being so tired that he could not even open his mouth to drink water. His muscles did not listen to him at all. Such a feeling was worse than death. An ordinary person would recall it for the rest of his life after experiencing it once. Experiencing it a few times consecutively would cause mental problems. But Chu Yang endured it at least 4 times a day. Every time he would rest for a while. After recovering, he would immediately start the next battle while cursing. Zi Xueqing was moved. She was high and mighty. Her power was extraordinary. She followed Chu Yang at the beginning only because of his Tao state power. That was all. She planned to leave at any time. Once she gathered enough Tao state power, she would leave. And she did not have any reluctance. The old fortune-teller's words of, "Why not cherish the person in front of you?" did not cause any ripples in Zi Xueqing's heart. She only thought that this was nonsense. But at this moment, she was truly and deeply moved. For Chu Yang's hard work. Even with her current physique, Zi Xueqing knew clearly that she could not do such hard work. If he were to be like Chu Yang and be subjected to such torture for 2 consecutive months, perhaps he would have already collapsed. At this moment, she truly felt a trace of admiration for the young man in front of her. Everything had to be done with a balance of tension and relaxation. However, Chu Yang's tension was boundless. This kind of cruel training actually only forced out his endless potential. He actually persevered from beginning to end. Moreover, he persevered with all his heart and soul. He didn't slack off at all. If the Chu Yang of 2 months ago was an ordinary piece of iron, then now he had already been refined into a sharp sword, flickering with cold light. Every battle in the past 2 months was like a giant hammer of heaven and earth that mercilessly fell down with wind, frost, snow, and rain, taking away every bit of impurities from Fan Tai's body and constantly purifying it. Now, it was already a peerless divine blade. Once it was unsheathed, the wind and clouds would move. However, during this period of time, Chu Yang seemed to have fallen into Nangong Shifeng's bad habit. His mouth was cheap. Especially when they were fighting, their mouths stank even more. Zi Xueqing was too embarrassed to attack him verbally, but he was actually getting excited. Again! Chu Yang swayed and spat a mouthful of saliva. "I really don't believe that a big man like me can't deal with a little girl like you. Let's fight again." Chu Yang breathed heavily. "Today, I must conquer you, little girl. Again if you dare." Chu Yang squinted. "Beauty, help me loosen my muscles again. Beauty, hit me harder if you dare, little girl. One day, my cultivation will surpass yours. At that time, you just wait for me. If I don't teach you a lesson, my surname is not Chu." Then there was a scream. "I swear, when my cultivation is successful, the first person I'll torture will be you. Just you wait. Just you wait. How you beat me today, I'll beat you back in the future. What's wrong with women? I can't beat you? Come here. I'll teach you a lesson." Under such provocation, Zi Xueqing's face was full of anger and her body was cold. Her attacks were more and more ruthless and heavier than the previous. Chu Yang's days became harder and harder, but correspondingly his cultivation improved faster and faster. It was undeniable that under such cruel training, Chu Yang's temperament was also tempered. It became tougher and more indestructible. Now he stood still. Occasionally, he would sweep his eyes, and it was full of violent, murderous intent. Moreover, the strength of the soul required for this training was simply beyond anyone's imagination. Under Zi Xueqing's earth-shattering pressure, The spirit of the first-generation sword master of Calamity Sword that Chu Yang swallowed completely merged with his own spirit. There were no more flaws. One must know that this process was almost equivalent to Zi Xiecheng breaking Chu Yang's spirit 300 times. Then, it would recombine and become one again. Even if a mid-stage supreme martial artist saw this number, he could only feel fear. Although Zi Xiecheng was furious with Chu Yang, she couldn't help but admire him. If one day, Chu Yang's identity as the sword master of Calamity Sword was revealed, his sword would definitely soar to the sky. He would stand proudly at the peak and look down on the world. By then, the world would see the glory of this sword master, but how would they know how much Chu Yang had sacrificed behind this glory? Not to mention more. Just these 2 months of cruel training was enough to be 10 times more than an ordinary martial artist's 500 years of life experience. So what if he was the sword master of Calamity Sword? Even in the land of gods and demons, those born with the bloodline of gods and demons would also be trash if they didn't work hard. So what if he was an ordinary person? As long as he dared to work hard, there would be a world that belonged to him. It was here, in this Tianji city that didn't belong to him, in this orchard palace that didn't belong to him, that Chu Yang completed another transformation. The transformation this time seemed to have transformed him from a human into a sword. Vaguely, there was actually the taste of his previous life. The taste of iron and blood that belonged to the martial world. The taste that he hadn't felt for a long time. However, the sword in this life had feelings. In the first 3 days, his cultivation was beaten down by Zi Xiecheng to the 5th grade of Sword Sovereign. Then, he broke through again to the peak of 7th grade. Then, he broke through step by step. 8th grade of Sword Sovereign. 8th grade. Peak of 8th grade. Grade. Another breakthrough. Grade. Peak of 8th grade. When Chu Yang thought of the night when he broke through to the Martial Saint level, he shivered a little. That night, in order to break through to the Sword Saint level, Chu Yang felt a huge bottleneck for the first time. He felt the consequence of absorbing too many heavenly treasures. The bottleneck became heavier. Although heavenly treasures were good things, once they entered the body, although their medicinal effects were still there, they would lose their spirituality and become a dead medicinal effect. And this medicinal effect could benefit people temporarily, but invisibly, the meridians would also become dependent on the heavenly treasures. Over time, it would form a firm bottleneck. The barrier. If one wanted to break through this barrier, even a genius would have to endure almost unbearable pain. And that kind of pain was definitely not something that a human could endure. Therefore, although some people who consumed heavenly materials and earthly treasures advanced rapidly once they encountered a bottleneck, they would be stuck for the rest of their lives, unable to advance even an inch. What Chu Yang met was the first huge bottleneck, the bottleneck of breaking through to the Sword Saint level. After this bottleneck, there would be another one when he broke through to the Supreme level. That night, he couldn't break through for a long time. In the end, both of them became ruthless. Chu Yang clearly remembered that Zi Xiecheng asked, "Do you want to break through?" Chu Yang said, "Of course." Then, "Are you willing to pay any price for this breakthrough?" Zi Xiecheng asked again. Chu Yang nodded deeply. "As long as you don't ask me to give up my heart, you can do whatever you want with this body of 130 pounds. In your situation, I'm afraid you can only break through with the power of the Great Way of the Netherworld." Zi Xiecheng said, "It's very painful, you have to think carefully." "I can bear with it." Chu Yang nodded fiercely. "Good." After Zi Xiecheng said this word, she briefly recited a few sentences to help Chu Yang regulate his qi. After circulating it through his meridians, she immediately started to take action. In the next moment, Chu Yang really knew what the Great Way of the Netherworld was. With a poof, she crushed all the 5 fingers on Chu Yang's right hand. Then, the long bamboo stick pierced into his fingernails. Chu Yang almost fainted. His whole body was sweating profusely like a waterfall. But Zi Xiecheng used her powerful divine sense to control him and not let him faint. She let him feel his pain fully awake. Not only that, he had to bear with it while silently practicing the Great Way of the Netherworld divine technique to absorb the power of the Great Way of the Netherworld. But to no avail. Zi Xiecheng was helpless and asked Chu Yang for help. Chu Yang's most tragic moment had arrived. He told Zi Xiecheng all the interrogation methods he knew. He still had to continuously give suggestions and come up with all kinds of methods to let others continue to torture him. This kind of thing was really, next, the hellish pain, the torture of Chu Yang's interrogation. He completely endured it himself. Not just once. And it was definitely not just one type. When she split open Chu Yang's muscles for the third time and was about to pour in the salt, Zi Xiecheng's hands were trembling. Why not? Forget it. You can still break through after some time. Chu Yang was no longer human. Other than a pair of cold eyes, there was nothing else. He roared crazily, "Nonsense! I've already endured half of it. You want me to give up? Again." This happened 7 times in a row. Every time, he had to use an incomplete version of the heavy pill. It was healed again, torn apart again, and tortured again. Just as Chu Yang was about to break down, he muttered something. This sentence made Zi Xiecheng speechless for a long time. In the future, I won't dare to let my brothers consume things like heavenly treasures that can increase their power. I won't dare to anymore. Proud World's birthday. Thank you for all your support. I wish all my brothers and sisters happiness. No matter where you are, as long as you see Proud World, as long as you see this sentence, then, my blessings are for you. The following sentence is to encourage my brothers and sisters. It's rare to fight in life. If we don't fight, who will fight for us? Our success may be shared with others. But if we don't fight now, when we're young, when we grow old in the future, no one will feel pain for us, no one will feel regret for us. Who can fight for us to be glorious? Only ourselves. Chapter 988. Just as Chu Yang was about to break down, he muttered a sentence. This sentence made Zi Xiecheng speechless for a long time. In the future, I won't dare to let my brothers consume things like heavenly treasures that can increase their powers. I won't dare to anymore. Hearing this, even Zi Xiecheng, who had never seen Gu Duxing, Dong Wushang and the others before, actually had her eyes turn red. She only felt that a certain soft part of her heart was suddenly touched, and she actually had the urge to cry in an instant. She gritted her teeth and continued. Unfortunately, after going through such a cruel tempering of the spirit, she was pulled back from the brink of dispersing 7 times in a row. Then, she used this energy that was close to the Great Way of the Netherworld to accumulate and break through. Coupled with the Heaven Divine technique, she still couldn't do it. In the end, Zi Xiecheng simply went all out and broke almost all of Chu Yang's bones. She used the incomplete version of the heavy pill to repair them, broke them again, and repaired them again. Every time, Chu Yang would repair it until he could no longer feel any pain. Then he would break it again. She did this several times in a row. At the last time when they were fully recovered, Chu Yang used all his strength to break through. That unbreakable martial saint barrier was finally broken and a crack appeared. Then, the vast and mighty Great Way of the Netherworld rushed in. The Heaven Divine technique then violently crashed and the barrier opened wide. Suddenly, streaks of lightning-like sword energy shot out from Chu Yang's body. They were unstoppable. Luckily, Zi Xiecheng had set up a space barrier right from the start to block this wave of sword energy. In fact, every time the battle started, Zi Xiecheng was the first to open the space barrier and completely cover the battle space. If not, she would have been discovered long ago during the first battle. What made Zi Xiecheng the most frightened was that after this guy had suffered so much and finally broken through and regained his strength, the first thing he said was, "Again. Fight. Little girl, take a look at how powerful I am." When Zi Xiecheng heard this, her first reaction wasn't anger or rage, but fear. Was this guy still human? In the following period of time, Chu Yang's cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. The remaining power of the Great Way of the Netherworld actually wrapped around Chu Yang's cultivation. It advanced triumphantly all the way until it reached the 3rd grade of the martial saint level before it stopped. In the last few days, Zi Sheqing suppressed her cultivation to fight with Chu Yang, but it was already quite strenuous. Chu Yang's sword was ever-changing. All of a sudden, there was a streak of white light. All of a sudden, there was a myriad of rainbows. All of a sudden, there was soft water. In the next moment, there were violent waves. The previous moment, the next moment, the earth. With Chu Yang's current cultivation, the tribulation sword technique was as powerful as thunder and as fast as lightning. Facing an opponent like Zi Sheqing, Chu Yang used all his strength without any reservations, squeezing every ounce of his potential. When the 10 moves of the Calamity Swordsmanship and the 4 self-created moves were displayed, even with Zi Sheqing's ability, she still had to raise her cultivation level, which was originally at the 4th stage of the Martial Saint level, by another 2 stages. She still had to rely on her endless experience and moves to suppress him. But when Chu Yang used all 10 moves of the Tribulation Sword technique, Zi Sheqing actually raised her cultivation to the peak of 2nd grade Martial Saint before she managed to block it. And there was a stab on her white robe. And although this stab didn't hurt her, it pierced her chest. Even though Zi Sheqing had lived for a long time, she was still a pure and innocent girl. Without thinking, she sent someone flying with a slap. Then, she remembered how terrifying this Calamity Swordsmanship was and couldn't help but be shocked. She had experienced so many battles in her life that she couldn't even count them. But this was really the first time she saw such a powerful sword technique. Zi Sheqing suddenly felt more respect for the person who created the Tribulation Sword technique and folded the heavens. Who exactly was this person? During this period of time, Chu Yang had entered the Tao realm every time he battled. Although Zi Sheqing didn't collect as much Tao state as she did with the Moon Breeze couple in these 2 months, she was actually close to filling up the gap. According to Zi Sheqing's estimation, she would be able to collect enough Tao state energy to break through the void and leave this place after a dozen more battles with Chu Yang. However, just as this goal was about to be achieved, Zi Sheqing suddenly felt a sense of loss, and for some reason she shelved her cultivation plan. If she left this place, where would she go? Would she have to go back to being a loner for 10,000 years again? Would she have to search tirelessly in the vast universe? Would she have to wander alone? Would that really be the day she wanted? During this period of time, he would either fight or bicker with Chu Yang, or chat and laugh with Chu Lu when he was free. The 2 of them even went to the shops a few times and played with Chu Lu a few times. In Zi Sheqing's opinion, they were very childish. Unknowingly, her heart that had been lonely for a long time had started to have feelings for him. She couldn't bear to part with him. What should I do? Zi Sheqing kept silent for a few days. She didn't tell Chu Yang but kept it in her heart. Sometimes, when she sat by the window and looked at the yellow leaves falling from the trees outside, Zi Sheqing actually sighed. At that moment, her gaze was always very gentle, very nostalgic, and very lost. Seeing that Zi Sheqing had actually given up on urging him, Chu Yang rested well for a day. When he stepped out of the courtyard again, he actually felt as if a lifetime had passed. The cold wind blew and the leaves flew. In the morning, there was already a layer of frost on the ground. The weather had already turned cold. The branches on the trees had already turned yellow. As the wind blew, they floated down. When I came, it was only autumn, but now, it's already winter. Chu Yang smiled gently. Standing under the tree, he looked up at the sky that had become high and far. Suddenly, a strong sense of longing arose in his heart. I wonder how my brothers are doing? I wonder how Mo Qingwu is doing? I miss all of you so much. I really miss all of you so much. During this period of time, Han Shaoren came a few times, and Nangong Shifeng also came continuously. Now, regarding the happenings in Tianji City, Chu Yang already had a huge pile of information that was as big as a foot. Chu Yang had a particularly detailed understanding of the infighting between the few men. He still couldn't understand, as the Empress of Iron Cloud, how did Wu Qianxian come to the upper 3 heavens? Could it be that Tai Badian didn't treat her well? But, even if that was the case, it shouldn't be. Moreover, according to Chu Yang's observation, Wu Qianxian's waist was thin and her chest was perky. Her body was straight and her buttocks were perky. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted, her face was smooth and tight, and there was also a light layer of fine hair behind her ears. This was clearly the symbol of a virgin. Chu Yang frowned even more. What was going on? Pacing slowly under the tree, he suddenly thought of a possibility. He couldn't help but slap his forehead, feeling a little vexed. I'm so stupid. Yes, it must be so. Chu Yang planned to look for Wu Qianqian. There was one thing that Chu Yang was 80% sure of. According to medical knowledge, although Tai Budin was a man, his body was a little weak and even feminine in some parts. According to experience, this kind of man usually wasn't strong in that area. Could it be that Tai Budin actually had a hidden secret? He only found out after he married Wu Qianqian? That's why he couldn't do that? And no one knew that he came to the upper three heavens. In order to keep it a secret, he actually let Wu Qianqian, the empress, personally invite him? Seek medical treatment? And it was precisely because of this that Wu Qianqian couldn't bring herself to ask him? The more Chu Yang thought about it, the more he was sure of it. He couldn't help but scold himself in his heart. You're thinking too much. How could the empress of a country chase you for thousands of miles for an extramarital affair? You're really too narcissistic? Sigh, if that's really the case, then it's really wrong of me to ignore Wu Qianqian during this period of time. But how did Wu Qianqian become the brother of Moon Breeze? This matter was really hard to understand. But everyone had their own opportunities. In this world, there were many things that couldn't be understood. This one wasn't a big deal. Chu Yang thought that it was better to quickly find Wu Qianqian to confirm it. With this thought, he walked all the way to the Zhuge clan. In another 3 days' time, everyone would arrive and the medicine banquet would begin with the qualifiers. If that matter were to happen at the same time, coupled with so many other things happening at the same time, he might really overlook it. It was better to take the initiative to say such things. He had to wait for Wu Qianqian to say it. This girl was too shy to say it. He and Tai Budin were friends and comrades in arms. How could he not help with such a small matter? Chu Yang made up his mind and strode to find Wu Qianqian. His heart was filled with brotherly love and the code of brotherhood. He was still laughing in his heart. That guy can't get it up. Wah! Thinking of Tai Butian's current predicament, Chu Yang had the urge to laugh out loud. If I see him, I'll definitely tease him. He had to admit that if Tai Butian knew what he was thinking now, he would definitely faint on the spot. He can't get it up? What can I do? What can I do? At the same time, in Diwu Qingru's small courtyard, Diwu Qingru frowned and couldn't figure it out. He kept pacing back and forth. Behind him, an old man with white eyebrows was almost dazzled by his pacing. He was also very curious. How long had it been? When had he seen Diwu Qingru so indecisive? Had he ever been so troubled? This kind of thing was simply unheard of in the Diwu clan. Who exactly is it? Who else is also involved in this plan? Diwu Qingru frowned deeply and muttered to himself, it's just that the Yi clan, Lan clan and Zhuge clan are already messy enough. Why is the Ling clan also involved now? These few clans wouldn't leak it out, but how did the Ling clan know? What exactly is going on? Could it be a trap? Chapter 989. The white-bearded elder sat quietly at one side and looked at Diwu Qingru, deep in thought. Outside the room, he had set up a supreme martial artist's divine sense, which completely blocked out the news here. Diwu Qingru thought hard. The first thing he thought of was Chu Yang. But after thinking for a while, he still felt that it was impossible. Only after knowing his plan would he be able to take advantage of the situation and add fuel to the fire. But now, Chu Yang should not know that he was the one who sent the message to the Yi clan. Moreover, he had not heard of any conflict between the Yi clan and Chu Yang. Moreover, with Chu Yang's current strength, he did not have the ability to go against the Yi clan or make use of the Ling clan. Third elder, are you sure about the people around Chu Yang? Diwu Qingru asked again. There are only 2 women around him, one big and one small. What else is there to be uncertain about? The white-bearded third elder frowned and said, I keep feeling that something is wrong. Diwu Qingru rubbed his forehead and said, "This person always plans before acting. If he is not confident, he will not act. Moreover, he came to Tianji City alone. How can he not rely on anyone? Relying on Han Xiaoran is obviously not possible. Then why is he so confident?" The white-bearded elder was a little puzzled and said, "That little one is a genius, but he's just a nobody. I don't know why you don't pay attention to the supreme martial artists of the Yi clan, Ling clan and Lan clan. Why are you so concerned about this little one?" Diwu Qingru took a deep breath and said, "Third elder, although a supreme martial artist is powerful, he still needs someone to command him when he is doing something. Give him a target and let him complete it bravely. If no one gives him a target, a supreme martial artist is just a powerful martial artist." He smiled faintly and said, "After all, there are too few supreme martial artists in this world who can command themselves and see clearly." He looked out of the window and said, "The big clans and law enforcement officers, in the entire heavenly land, there are only a few people who are at the peak of the supreme martial artist level. When people talk about them, they only talk about them. But it is undeniable that in this vast world, there are countless supreme martial artists. It's just that their grades are different. And among these countless supremes, not a single one of them could say that they could command themselves." Diwu Qingru faintly shook his head. "They have always been restrained by others. Therefore, such supreme martial artists are not scary. What was frightening was the hand behind Ji Zun that was pointing out the direction. The owner of that hand, even if he doesn't have the strength to truss a chicken, is an existence even more terrifying than a supreme being. This is wisdom, intelligence, scheming, resourcefulness." Diwu Qingru's voice was very indifferent. The white-bearded elder behind him was also a high-level supreme martial artist. He was also under Diwu Qingru's control. According to seniority, he was Diwu Qingru's ancestor. Normally, Diwu Qingru should have paid more attention to his words. However, he had spoken bluntly. As for the white-bearded old man, he listened attentively. He did not display any dissatisfaction. No matter how big the heavens are, no matter how powerful the supremes are, even if they can completely change the heavens, or even fold the heavens, they still need great wisdom. It wasn't something that could be done by force alone. Therefore, the hand that controls everything is the most terrifying. "Chu Yang, this is the hand." Diwu Qingru smiled. Even if he doesn't have any martial skills, as long as he dares to go to a place, he must have some kind of confidence. Moreover, he must have a clear purpose. Such a person is the most dangerous person. As for the supreme martial artists of the Yi clan and the Ling clan, if I am willing to use a little trick, it won't be too difficult to eliminate them one by one. Diwu Qingru faintly smiled and raised his gaze. "In fact, we don't even need to do it ourselves." The white-bearded elder nodded in agreement. Obviously, he did not have any doubts about his words. However, he asked, "Could it be that this Chu Yang is actually the same type of person as you in your heart?" Diwu Qingru did not answer this question for a long time. The expression on his face became somewhat solemn. The white-bearded elder sucked in a breath of cold air. "Since it's so dangerous, do you want me to go and kill him?" The white-bearded elder's eyes flashed with murderous intent. If such a person is left alive, there will be endless trouble in the future. "Third elder, if you really go, then I can guarantee that the possibility of you coming back alive is less than 10%. Diwu Qingru said slowly. If Chu Yang didn't have such confidence, he wouldn't have come here at all. Seeing that the white-bearded elder's face showed disapproval, Diwu Qingru said lightly, "Third elder, do you not believe my words?" The white-bearded elder's murderous intent disappeared and he let out a muffled hum. "Don't act rashly," Diwu Qingru said word by word. His voice was heavy, almost as if he was warning, "Our Diwu clan can't do without you now. Moreover, now is far from the time to be enemies with Chu Yang. If you act rashly, even if you kill Chu Yang, you will also spoil my plan. You will destroy the hope of the Diwu clan." The white-bearded elder was horrified and moved. Although he did not know the meaning of Diwu Qingru's words, he knew that since Diwu Qingru had said so, It indicated the seriousness of this matter. At this moment, the wind whistled outside. A figure entered lightly. It was a man in a white robe. Diwu Qingru raised his gaze and asked, How is it? I found the news. There were 124 people from the Ling clan who came. However, after they separated from Chu Yang and the others, when they set off again, there were only 110 people. That person said in a very low and hurried voice, 3 martial saints, 1 monarch and 1 young man are missing. Diwu Qingru's eyes flashed. Missing people, and then Chu Yang and the others left calmly, right? Yes. That person nodded. Diwu Qingru pondered for a moment and took a breath. He said, Then what about the Yi clan? The Yi clan sent 130 people this time, but now there are only 128 people left. That person said, I heard that ever since Chu Yang and the others attended the banquet at Shuiyu restaurant that night, the Yi clan seemed to have lost 2 people on the second day. However, I didn't notice it at that time. Now that I think about it, it's a little blurry. He thought for a moment and added, The 2 missing people are 8th grade martial saints. Diwu Qingru heaved a sigh of relief. His eyes revealed a trace of heaviness, but also a little more relaxed. He muttered, Sure enough, when something strange happens, his shadow is there. The other 2 didn't say anything. Diwu Qingru pondered for a moment and said, Then, what about the Lan clan? The Lan clan is the original team. Not one of them is missing. That person replied. Okay, you can leave first. Keep a lookout. Diwu Qingru frowned and thought for a while. Then he waved his hand. This person turned and was about to leave when he suddenly thought of something. He said, Chu Yang is walking toward Jianghu building now. Diwu Qingru's eyes flashed. He said, Got it? That person quickly disappeared. Diwu Qingru paced another 2 steps and said softly, Change the original plan. Bring it forward to the medicine banquet selection. Also, keep a close eye on the movements of those 7 or 8 men. He pondered and said, If Chu Yang is going to make a move, it should be from there. However, to be safe, it's better to activate all the intelligence networks of the Diwu clan. In addition, let Diwu Lu Xing use the power of the Zhuge clan's external affairs hall to help keep an eye on it. Remember, even if we expose our tracks, we must not miss any trace of number 1. The white-bearded elder said somewhat worriedly, If so, once the Zhuge clan finds out, this will be a disaster for the Diwu clan. Diwu Qingru walked to the window and looked out. He said, Even if the Zhuge clan finds out, by the time they find out, I believe they will already be in a terrible fix. Not only will they not punish us, they will even rely on us. He waved his hand. It's settled then. The white-bearded elder agreed and walked out. Diwu Qingru stood in front of the window for quite a while. His gaze gradually fell on the ground. The grass on the ground had already withered and turned yellow. Diwu Qingru murmured. Then he said with some emotion, It's winter. Every winter, there will always be a batch of plants that freeze to death. The next spring, they will be replaced by a patch of lush green. However, it won't be this patch of grass anymore. He was silent for a while. Then he smiled softly and said, Chu Yang, you have been lying low for 2 months. Are you finally going to make a move? Before Chu Yang even got close to Jianghu building, he could already hear that it was very lively there. Laughter, scolding, clamoring, and singing? There was actually the sound of a zither? Chu Yang sweated a little. He really didn't know how this Miss Wu had turned the Zhuge clan upside down. It was only early in the morning, and there was already so much noise and clamor. Chu Yang quickened his pace and walked over. Just then, he heard a familiar voice saying, Come, 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 quickly place your bets. Let's see who can make Wu Xian show up today. The minimum bet is 100 purple crystals. Everyone is from various big clans. We must not lose morale. Come, 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 I'll be the banker. Another voice said discontentedly, Why are you the banker again? This familiar voice said, Nonsense. I don't intend to make Wu Xian my wife. You all have wild ambitions. If I don't become the banker, who will? It was Meng Sei. Chu Yang was scared. This bunch of people really had nothing better to do. They actually opened a gambling house because of this. A voice said, "I'll bet 300 purple crystals on myself." Chu Yang looked over and saw a big and tall man standing among these aristocratic families. He was actually taller than them by more than a head and a half. Meng Se said discontentedly, "Zhuge Changcheng, you're also the second duke of the Zhuge clan. You're not insulting us by betting 300 purple crystals every time." Zhuge Changcheng's face turned red. He said angrily, "But I've already lost for 7 consecutive days." Everyone laughed. Yi Shifeng took a step forward steadily. 500 purple crystals on myself. Everyone placed their bets. Meng Se beamed with delight and said, "The rules are as before. As long as one person places his bet, all the purple crystals will be his. I'll pay double the amount. If no one places his bet, all the purple crystals will be mine." Everyone snorted. This guy had already won for a few days. He was actually enjoying the benefits, but no one was willing to admit defeat. Everyone was full of confidence. Suddenly a voice said, "Can I also do it once?" Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw a young man in black standing outside the circle with a warm smile on his face. He seemed to be a little shy. His eyes were faintly looking at the mountain of purple crystals. Chapter 990. Meng Se, Yi Shifeng and the rest turned around and their expressions changed. This person was familiar to both of them. Chu Yang. However, Meng Se had met Chu Yang 3 days ago, while Yi Shifeng had just met him. Chu Yang took a closer look and there were indeed many familiar faces. Yi Shifeng, Yi Shiyu, Meng Se, There were also a few young dukes who were also handsome and dignified. They were obviously the talents of the other big clans. At this moment, they were all looking at Chu Yang as if he was a rookie. Not only was he a rookie, but he was also a fool. He couldn't see the situation clearly and wanted to earn purple crystals? Was it so easy to earn purple crystals from these dukes? He couldn't even tell that the dukes were fighting and he was blinded by greed. "Brother Chu? Why you here?" Meng Se was shocked. "I'm here to represent the Southeast law enforcement officers to participate in the medicine banquet." Chu Yang said briefly and said, "Brother, this bet?" "Ha." Meng Se laughed and said, "Brother Chu, do you want to win the beauty or earn purple crystals?" Chu Yang rubbed his hands and said embarrassedly, "I'm a little short on money recently." He was indeed a little short on money. During this period of time, he had already absorbed tens of thousands of purple crystals. Now, he had at most 2,000. Now that he saw this pile of purple crystals, he felt that it was extremely cute. When the crowd heard this, they sneered. However, Yi Shifeng and Yi Shiyu revealed a cautious look at the same time. They seemed to be somewhat fearful. Yi Kong and Yi Yun had died in order to kill Chu Yang. But Chu Yang was here, perfectly fine. Yi Kong and Yi Yun died a horrible death. This matter definitely had something to do with Chu Yang, but they couldn't ask Chu Yang about it. They had to suffer in silence. Now that Chu Yang stood out, the two of them were shocked. Yi Shiyu laughed coquettishly and said, "Brother Chu can become poor? This is truly a miraculous event." Chu Yang looked at Yi Shiyu lecherously. His eyes scanned Yi Shiyu up and down and stopped at his but for a long time. He looked like a hungry wolf and said, "If little you wasn't here, I wouldn't have come." When this expression and this tone came out, the crowd instantly became silent. They stared at Chu Yang and Yi Shiyu in disbelief and almost dropped their eyeballs to the ground. Although he knew that Chu Yang was joking, he still couldn't help but have goosebumps all over his body. He shook his butt and said coquettishly, "You." When Chu Yang heard the word, hateful, he immediately revealed an expression of infatuation. The bones of his entire body seemed to have softened. He said tenderly, "Little you, vomit." A blue-clothed duke at the periphery of the crowd turned around and almost vomited. The faces of the other dukes, including Zhuge Changcheng, became even longer. Lan Changa's face was pale and he kept muttering to himself, "Weirdo! What a weirdo! Vomit." Meng Se was originally a clean freak. Now, he was even more horrified. He ran far away and looked back at the two of them fearfully. He actually maintained a posture that looked like he would run away at any time. Yi Xiu finally couldn't take it anymore. His face turned pale and he couldn't help but take a step back. He said nervously, "Don't come over," Chu Yang laughed. Yi Shifeng frowned and said, "Divine Dr. Chu, if you want to bet, you have to take out purple crystals." He hurriedly changed the topic to help his brother out. Chu Yang laughed and said, "Purple crystals? Although there aren't many, but there are still 1 or 2 pieces." Among the crowd, Zhuge revealed a meaningful smile on his face. Zhuge Changcheng, who was beside him, frowned and said, "You know this person?" "No, I don't." Zhuge shook his head and said, "But this person is very scary. The method he is using now is the most effective way to deal with Yi Xiu." Zhuge Changcheng raised his eyebrows and revealed a look of disdain. He said lightly, "Very scary? Third brother, I'm afraid that in your heart, there are many scary people." Zhuge Wen smiled and said, "Second brother is right. I don't dare to belittle the heroes of the world." Zhuge Changcheng snorted and said loudly, "Brother Chu, how much do you want to bet?" Chu Yang wanted to say something but stopped. He suddenly turned to Yi Xiu and said, "Xiao Yu, do you want to bet?" Yi Xiu's face was pale. He wanted to shake his but felt that his body was a little stiff. He said, "What are you doing?" Chu Yang raised his eyebrows and revealed an ambiguous smile. "Let's bet." Before Yi Xiu could answer, the crowd had already started to clamor. "Bet? Bet?" Yi Xiu gritted his teeth and said, "All right, I'll accept however much you bet, Brother Chu." Although Chu Yang's attitude was ambiguous, he had challenged him in front of everyone. No matter if it was for himself or the Yi clan, Yi Xiu had to accept. "Okay, then I'll bet." Before Chu Yang could finish his sentence, Meng Se suddenly shook his head and shouted, "Wait! I'm not going to be the banker for this round." But Lan Changa asked curiously, "Are you fucking earning so much money that your hands go numb?" Meng Se shook his head vigorously. "No, I won't do it even if you beat me to death. I'm not going to be the banker for a bet between 2 transvestites." He paused and said, "Whoever wants to do it can do it. I'll bet 2. I'll bet 500. No, I'll bet 1,000. Will that do?" As soon as he said this, all the dukes laughed. But everyone looked at Meng Se with a strange expression. Meng Se was definitely not doing this because of this. Then was it because of this new person? That meant that this person was not simple? Big clans were all aristocratic families with tens of thousands of years of history. To be able to hold the top positions in such clans, how could these few people be fools? Even though everyone was behaving like lecherous men, but their true motives and thoughts were something only they knew in their hearts. Zhuge Changcheng was silent for a while and said, "Brother Chu, how much do you want to bet?" Chu Yang smiled modestly. "I don't have much, just 2,000. Zhuge Changcheng smiled coldly. "Brother Chu, who do you want to bet on to win?" Chu Yang laughed and said, "I haven't found a wife yet. I'm still single. Naturally, I want to bet on myself." Once he said this, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Bet on himself? We've been here for 2 months. We haven't even succeeded once. Now, you haven't shown your face here for 2 months and you want to ask the beauty out? This is simply nonsense. You're too naive. I'll be the banker. I'll be the banker. At the same time, 2 people stood up indignantly. Zhuge Changcheng and Lan Changa. These 2 people had lost the most in the past few days. Now that they had seen a sucker, they naturally wanted to recoup their losses. After a round of argument, Zhuge Changcheng won and successfully became the banker. Zhuge's eyes flashed as if he wanted to say something. But in the end he didn't say anything. Chu Yang had 2,000 purple crystals. Yi Xiu also gritted his teeth and took out 2,000 purple crystals and placed them on the pile. Meng Se took out 1,000 purple crystals without hesitation. Bet on himself. There were also 7 or 8 male cousins who threw in 300 or 500 purple crystals. There was even one person who threw in 1,000 purple crystals to show that he wasn't weaker than others. In this way, this pile of purple crystals actually reached a terrifying 12,000 purple crystals. Chu Yang's heart trembled as he looked at this. He recalled that before he returned to the clan, the entire Chu clan's annual income was only about 200 purple crystals. Now, in the hands of these male cousins from big clans, each person could actually throw in hundreds of purple crystals just for a casual bet. Big clans were indeed different from the rest. Zhuge Changchang stretched out his hand and a bunch of bamboo sticks appeared in his hand. He said, "For the sake of fairness, everyone will draw lots to decide the order. Take note, this is a personal bet. There's something I have to say first. If the first person succeeds, then he's the winner. The rest of the people who are willing to bet have to accept their loss." Everyone opened their mouths and said, "Isn't this bullshit? If the first person succeeds, then the beauty will be gone. What's the point of betting?" As they spoke, everyone started to draw lots. The male cousins rushed forward and squeezed Chu Yang to the back. Chu Yang was the last to draw lots. As expected, he was the last one. The last one, comparatively speaking, had the lowest success rate. The male cousins did not show any expression on their faces, but they were laughing in their hearts. This idiot, does he really think that it's fair just by drawing lots? It's just a few bamboo sticks. With the skills of everyone present, anyone can do this secretly. Little brat, you'd better be prepared to be cheated. Chu Yang held the bamboo stick and laughed. "My luck is really good, I'm the last one." Everyone laughed, but their smiles were different. They despised him in their hearts. "You'd better be stupid until you die." Chu Yang smiled as he held the bamboo stick. His expression did not change, but he sneered in his heart. Big clans are big clans. Even if they have conflicts with each other, once an outsider comes in, they will still work together to deal with the outsider. First, get rid of the outsider. Isn't this situation the same as how big clans deal with the Tribulation Sword Master? It was a small bet, but it had made Chu Yang raise his vigilance. Big clans are big clans. This point he really had to respect. Zhuge Changchang said, "First, Duke Lan Changa." Suddenly, someone laughed. Yi Shifeng could not help but say, "Duke Lan Changa is going to howl again." Everyone laughed until they fell down. Lan Changa stood up calmly, tidied up his appearance and walked towards the window of Jiaxiu building. "Wu Xian, I'm Lan Changa." "Ha, it's been so many days. Wu Xian also knows me. I wonder if I can have the honor of inviting Wu Xian to tour Tianji City? I'm sincerely inviting you. My ancestor and venerable Feng Yu are old friends, please give me face." Unexpectedly, Lan Changa did not sing this time. Instead, he went straight to the point and even brought out the friendship of his ancestors. Everyone regretted it. If they had known, they would have used this method. There was silence upstairs for a while. Wu Qianqian's ethereal voice sounded faintly, "Duke Lan, I wonder which ancestor of yours knows my teacher?" Lan Changa was shocked and said, "It's the great ancestor of my 3 ancestors." Halfway through his sentence, he suddenly stopped and was dumbfounded. Everyone was sweating profusely. Luckily, they did not think of this method. Wu Qianqian said faintly, "So there is such a relationship. In this case, you are not an outsider, but if Duke Lan is using this relationship as an excuse, according to seniority, how should you address me?" Lan Changa's face suddenly became as red as a ripe persimmon. Wu Qianqian was the younger brother of Feng Yu. Her seniority in the martial arts world could be said to be extremely high. She was almost the top ancestor type. This sentence was undoubtedly saying, "Lan Changa, do you dare to flirt with your great-grandmother? You disobedient and unfilial thing." The 5th one was even worse. Today is purely a birthday celebration, and it's a supplementary update, so I won't ask for monthly votes. Thank you for celebrating Aoshi's birthday today. Wish everyone a happy birthday. Good night. Chapter 991. Lan Changa returned dejectedly, like a rooster that had lost a fight, feeling dejected. Facing the smiling and meaningful gazes of the crowd, his face turned even redder and he was too ashamed to show his face. Zhuge Changchang gloated and said, "You deserve it. Who asked you to use such a method to invite her? This is simply coercion." Wu Xian is already merciful for not scolding you on the spot. Lan Chang'e said angrily, then what do you want me to do? Sing? Once the sentence came out, the crowd instantly remembered the word, howl, that Wu Xian said and instantly laughed uncontrollably. Chu Yang smiled at the side, but his eyes flashed with coldness. These few dukes of the aristocratic families obviously had a grudge against each other, but once an outsider was present, they would reject him regardless of the reason. Even when they were laughing just now, no one even looked at him. They had completely treated him as an invisible person. They could fight, or even kill, but this was a circle that only belonged to them. This was a kind of conceit and pride. Other people outside the aristocratic families did not even have the right to go against them. Chu Yang smiled faintly as he watched. Everyone else had formed a circle, laughing and scolding each other. They were in a mess and completely ignored him. But he just stood outside the circle, unmoved. He did not seem awkward at all. I am here to earn purple crystals, not to make friends with you. Zhuge Changcheng laughed for a while and said, Second Yi Shifeng. Yi Shifeng walked forward confidently, coughed twice and said calmly, Wu Xian, I am Yi Shifeng of the Yi clan. Ever since I saw your beauty that day, my heart has been haunted and I have not been able to sleep at night. My sincerity can be seen by the heavens. If I can gain your favor, I will never change my looks in this life. He paused for a while, seeing that there was no response from above, he continued, Today, I am only here to invite you for a chat. Whether it is successful or not, whether you are satisfied or not, I will still be satisfied. After a long while, Wu Qianqian's voice came from above and said, Duke Yi Shifeng, I have heard of you. Duke Yi is a calm person and can be said to be an outstanding person. However, it was said that Second Master Yi already had a second wife and 11 concubines. Outside the family, he also had 4 mistresses. Moreover, his family already had a large number of children and was flourishing. Dare I ask Second Duke Yi, I'm not the only one who said this to me, right? Yi Shifeng was tongue-tied and his face turned red. The third was naturally Meng Se. Meng Se walked over with his hands behind his back. Someone behind him muttered, Stop acting cool, Wu Xian can't even see you. Why are you acting cool? Meng Se ignored him and walked over elegantly. Facing the empty window, he bowed deeply and said, Wu Xian, little brother pays his respects to you. There was no movement inside. Meng Se chuckled and said, Last night, I dreamt of an immortal and felt something in my heart. I suddenly composed a poem. I hope the immortal can appreciate it. As he said that, he shook his head and recited, Once the fog barrier is opened, a peerless beauty will appear, her clothes fluttering in the wind, just like a fairy descending from the heavens. Her beautiful hair is 3,000 feet long, her eyes are clear as autumn water, I yearn deeply in my bones and sigh in disappointment. How can I be comforted? After reciting, he sighed twice and seemed to be very sad. For a long time, there was no movement from above. Meng Se was delighted and thought that there was a chance. Chu Yang, however, pursed his lips. He was extremely familiar with Wu Qianqian's temper and naturally knew that Wu Qianqian was thinking of how to reply to make him give up completely. There was definitely no chance. Indeed, he heard Wu Qianqian say, I've already said that I don't have any knowledge and really can't understand your poem. Why don't you explain it to me? Meng Se's eyebrows danced as he said, The meaning of this poem is that I had a dream last night. I dreamt of you, Mississippi. You came from the clouds and mist and left, leaving me unable to forget it for a long time, Wu Qianqian said, so it was just a dream. Her voice was very soft, but there was an indescribable meaning behind it that made Meng Se feel as if he was about to collapse. It was just a dream. You people actually compose poems when you read people? No matter how well you compose it, isn't it just a dream? I really can't understand you people. Who doesn't dream? This should be the hidden meaning behind Wu Qianqian's faint words. She only said that one sentence, but her tone perfectly conveyed the lingering meaning. Meng Se retreated dejectedly. This time, no one laughed anymore. The next few people all racked their brains to come up with different ideas, but all of them returned in defeat. One of them walked to the window and suddenly shouted in horror, "Why is this? There's actually a dog that can fly in the sky." Everyone laughed until they fell down. Wu Qianqian only said, "Dogs can't fly. Dogs only know how to bark." This guy retreated in defeat. Finally, it was Chu Yang's turn. The 8 people in front of him all looked at him with dark faces. Seeing Chu Yang's somewhat serious expression, everyone gloated in their hearts. Even with our family background, talent, and reputation, we can't do it. What hope do you have? However, everyone put on an expression of great interest, waiting to see a joke. Brother Chu, it's your turn. Hurry up. Brother Chu, you might succeed. Hurry up, are you not ready yet? I think you shouldn't try anymore. Just admit defeat. Don't say that. Maybe Brother Chu has a plan. Not only can we meet, but we can also enter directly with just one sentence. This joke is really funny. My stomach hurts. It was a mess. Chu Yang walked forward slowly and coughed lightly twice. All the dukes instantly stopped talking. All of them had an expression that said, "Hurry up and make a fool of yourself, I'll laugh so hard." Under everyone's gaze, Chu Yang raised his voice and said, "Wu Xian, I'm Chu Yang. Cough, cough, may I go up and talk to Wu Xian?" Before Wu Qianqian could say anything, the dukes below had already exploded. Fuck, what is this? Not only does he want to meet, he actually wants to go up and talk to Wu Xian. He's overestimating himself. I'm so disgusted. This pervert. This evil pervert. He actually wants to enter the room of the goddess in my heart. This is intolerable. When Wu Xian rejects him, I'll beat him up. The crowd was in a frenzy. However, the next moment, everyone was stunned. The goddess in their heart said, "Do you want to come up and talk to me?" Everyone was stunned. What did Wu Xian mean by this? Why does it sound like she's going to agree? Chu Yang said, "Yes, I heard that Wu Xian has a small illness. I'm very anxious, so I'm here to take a look at your injuries." Everyone was furious. When did Wu Xian get injured? We've been here for 2 months. Why didn't we hear about it? You're obviously spouting nonsense. Just as they were about to reprimand Chu Yang, Wu Qianqian sighed and said, "It's been hard on you. I got injured 2 months ago. You actually know about it." Everyone was shocked. Wu Xian is really injured? Chu Yang said sincerely, "Immortal's cultivation is deep, so he naturally won't be a problem. However, I heard that Knight Immortal displayed his skills and fought against 2 8th-stage martial saints. It wasn't easy for him either." Yi Shifeng and Yi Shiyu, who were in the crowd, broke out in a cold sweat when they heard this. 2 months ago? Fighting against 2 8th-stage martial saints in the middle of the night? What the heck? It can't be so coincidental. Both of them waited anxiously with a fluke heart. Wu Qianqian said, "You're right. That night at the Shuiyu Lake was indeed the most dangerous battle in my life." Divine Dr. Chu, please come upstairs to talk. Thank you, Wu Xian. I'll take the purple crystals and go upstairs immediately. Chu Yang thanked her with a smile. After 2 years of separation, the King of Hell and Rakshasa did not acknowledge each other at the Shuiyu Lake. This was the first time they worked together in the upper 3 heavens. It was perfect, flawless. Turning around, he saw everyone looking at him as if he was an immortal. Chu Yang smiled and cupped his hands. "I'm sorry I won." Everyone regretted it. If they knew that Wu Xian was injured and only needed the identity of a doctor to get close to her, they would have gone earlier. How could they let Chu Yang take advantage of them? Everyone did not mind losing the purple crystals. However, they were envious and jealous of Chu Yang for being able to enter Wu Qianqian's embroidery shop. Extreme. These purple crystals are all mine. Chu Yang laughed. Wait for me to keep them. Zhuge Gong, as the banker, you should take out double the amount, right? Since I've won today, I'll give Zhuge Gong a discount. Just take out 10,000 purple crystals. Zhuge Changchang was extremely upset. He said angrily, "Do you think I'll go back on my words?" He waved his hand to call someone over to take the purple crystals. Lan Changa waved his hand. "Wait." He turned to Chu Yang and said, Young man, you obviously knew that Wuxian was injured but you didn't say anything. Using this reason to meet Wuxian is equivalent to cheating. You want to take away the purple crystals just like that? You're dreaming. When he said this, many people looked at him unkindly. Chu Yang's eyes narrowed. He smiled and said, I know, it's my business. The bet was on whether I could meet her, not on what reason. But the descendant of the heavens ruling clan can't afford to lose? You're the one who can't afford to lose. Who are you calling a sore loser? A few people started to clamor. Everyone was already unhappy with him. Now, they were even more unhappy with him. They wanted to use this as a pretext to teach him a lesson. Chu Yang looked at Yi Shifeng meaningfully and said, Second Elder Yi, the two elders of the Yi clan, do you think so too? Wu Xian's injury is still waiting. Yi Shifeng's heart skipped a beat. This fellow was not talking about Wu Xian's injury, he was using the two people to threaten him. In that case, Chu Yang meant that he knew the identity of the two people but Wu Xian did not? I have to apologize. Sai, it's my fault. Last night on Aoshi's birthday, I went to sing a song. In the end, I sang too well. Today, I found out that the girls who heard my song were all mesmerized by my beautiful voice. It caused them to miss me so much that they could not sleep for the entire night. This is my fault. I'm sorry. I apologize here. Chapter 992. Chu Yang was clearly warning him, settle this matter. Otherwise, the Yi clan can only wait for the Moonbreeze duo to find trouble with you. Yi Shifeng felt as if he had eaten feces. Thinking of this, he could not help but scold Yi Kong and Yi Yun in his heart. You could have just killed Chu Yang, but why did you injure Wu Xian? Injuring Wu Xian is fine, but why did you leave evidence for Chu Yang to use against you? But now, this little girl had managed to grab hold of his pigtails. Furthermore, if the Moonbreeze duo knew about this, what would happen? These two people deserve to die. Thinking of this, Yi Shifeng's thoughts were all gone. Hurriedly, he said righteously, if you agree to a bet, you must accept defeat. I have to make this clear. If anyone were to create trouble without reason, it would be equivalent to going against Yi Shifeng. Anyone who goes against me, Yi Shifeng, is going against the Yi clan. Yi Shifeng's sudden change in attitude caused everyone to be puzzled. Lan Chang'e was stunned and said, Brother Yi. He was extremely puzzled. Damn you, Yi Shifeng, wasn't it you who sent me a message just now and then I stood up for you? You were the one who wanted to deal with this brat, I was only helping you. Why did you suddenly change your mind? Why did you suddenly become so righteous? What is going on? Yi Shifeng looked at him sternly and said lightly, Brother Lan, don't you want to give me face? Lan Chang'e said angrily, What? Just now it was obviously. Yi Shifeng did not wait for him to finish and interrupted him, saying, That's right, Brother Chu obviously won just now. Since we have won, we have to accept defeat. Brother Lan, are you trying to go back on your words? Lan Chang'e held his breath and said, What do you mean I want to go back on my words? Obviously. That's right, since you don't want to go back on your words, then be more straightforward. You must accept defeat. Yi Shifeng interrupted him again and said, The Lan clan is a big clan, it's not like you can't accept defeat, right? Lan Chang'e almost suffered internal injuries from holding his breath and looked at Yi Shifeng as if he was going to vomit blood. Suddenly, he thought, could it be that Yi Shifeng purposely framed me to get on Chu Yang's good side? In this way, Chu Yang would inform Wu Xian, and then Wu Xian would inform Supremes Feng and you? Let the Wind and Moon Supremes develop enmity towards our Lan clan? Yes, this sentence made a lot of sense. One must know that the Yi clan and the Lan clan are plotting the same thing. It is highly possible for Yi Shifeng to pull such a stunt. It had to be said that Lan Chang'e was indeed an outstanding figure among the younger generation of the Lan family. His train of thought was very agile. In an instant, his thoughts had turned to this point. He was extremely thoughtful. Thinking of this, Lan Chang'e suppressed his anger, smiled and said, Not bad, not bad. If you agree to a bet, you must accept your loss. I will not be like someone who obviously wants to make friends, but has to step on the shoulders of his old friends. To make friends with such a person, no matter who it is, one must be careful. Upon hearing this, Yi Shifeng knew that he had misunderstood. However, how could Yi Shifeng still think about this? He turned to Chu Yang and said with a smile, "Brother Chu, you can collect the stakes now. Brother Chu, when you see Wuxian, please, put in a few good words for me. How about it?" Chu Yang smiled reservedly and said, "Of course." Lan Changa said, "Since Brother Chu has won the bet for the first time, I will add another 300 purple crystals to congratulate Brother Chu. I hope that Brother Chu can put in a few good words for me in front of Wuxian." Upon hearing this sentence, Yi Shifeng and Chu Yang were slightly stunned. Yi Shifeng's put in a few good words was to ask Chu Yang not to speak too much. However, what was Lan Changa's put in a few good words? Chu Yang laughed and said honestly, "Yes, I will try my best to put in a few good words for you." Both of them thanked him in unison. Yi Shifeng was still worried. He came forward and said, "Brother Chu, if you are willing, when Brother Chu comes out, I will repay you." Chu Yang said solemnly, "Brother Yi, don't worry. You and I treat each other with sincerity, we are good friends. You should know that I, Chu Yang, will never say anything in front of outsiders, I will only praise." Yi Shifeng cursed in his heart, "To hell with your sincerity." However, he said emotionally, Yes, I trust Brother Chu's character." Chu Yang nodded and smiled. At the side, Yi Xiu's eyes flashed. At the side, the smiling Meng Sei's eyes flashed. At the periphery of the crowd, Zhu Ji's eyes flashed as he pondered. At this moment, the wager was ready. It was a huge pile of purple crystals. "It seems that it is not easy to carry." Yi Shifeng said eagerly, "Brother Chu, why don't I get someone to keep it for you and send it to you later?" Chu Yang smiled faintly and said, "No need, I have a way." He walked to the side of the pile of purple crystals and waved his hand. The pile of purple crystals disappeared instantly. Storage equipment, Skywood. The dukes were all knowledgeable people. When they saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes lit up like searchlights. This guy actually had such a good item in his hands. Instantly, a few of them started to feel nervous. This was a good item. Chu Yang smiled. It seemed as if he hadn't discovered anything. But he was quietly observing everyone's reactions. Good item was naturally a good item. However, good item, Chu Yang greeted them and entered Jianghu building leisurely with 2 sleeves of purple crystal wind. All the dukes looked at each other with envy and jealousy as he disappeared at the entrance of the building. After a long while, Yi Shifeng and Lan Changa's eyes met. Lan Changa turned his neck. "Hey!" Yi Shifeng snorted. At this moment, after a moment of silence, a voice could be heard from Jianghu building. "Divine Dr. Chu, you are so young. Thank you for your trouble." "That's right. Wuxian is really young and beautiful. When I saw her, I was immediately infatuated. When I found out that she was unwell, I lost my appetite." All the dukes gritted their teeth and scolded in unison, "Shameless. You didn't lose much weight even when you lost your appetite." The voice continued to be heard from inside. "Divine Dr. Chu, you are too kind. Qian doesn't deserve it. You are too kind. Miss, you are like a fairy. You deserve it. Miss, you don't know that I have admired you for a long time. However, I am ashamed of my inferiority. Sigh, it is my fortune to be able to treat your illness." All the dukes felt a rush of anger and scolded at the same time, "This perverted thief." The voice from inside said, "Miss, you are injured. May I know where you are injured?" Chu Yang asked with concern. "Divine Dr. Chu, can't you tell? I'm injured on my back." Wu Qianqian said with embarrassment. "On your back? Let me take a look." Chu Yang said anxiously. "This is not appropriate?" Wu Qianqian said shyly. "Miss, what are you saying? A doctor has the heart of a parent." Chu Yang said righteously, "Shameless. Shameless. Shameless." All the dukes below stomped their feet and scolded angrily. Their eyes were red. They could not wait to rush up and cut this shameless person into pieces. This bastard is obviously trying to take advantage of Wuxia. To think that he actually said it in such a righteous manner. I really want to spit on his face. Wuxia, you must control yourself. Don't be taken advantage of by him, all the dukes prayed in their hearts. This is not appropriate. Divine Dr. Chu, it's better to take my pulse and prescribe some medicine. Wu Qianqian declined politely. All the dukes heaved a sigh of relief. Miss, what are you saying? He heard Chu Yang's displeasure as he said, internal and external injuries have their own mysteries. How can you tell just by feeling the pulse? This little guy insisted on taking a look. All the dukes gritted their teeth. This bastard. Wuxia is such a pure and holy person. Must she take off her clothes and let this shameless bastard take a look at her back? But the place where Qianqian is injured is a little indecent. Wu Qianqian's voice was hesitant. Everyone's hearts were in their throats. Don't worry, Mississippi. Just treat me as a white-haired old doctor. This can't be delayed. Chu Yang persuaded earnestly. All the people below stomped their feet and scolded. A white-haired old man? You're obviously a young man. Pervert. Scoundrel. Pervert. Extremely shameless. Extremely filthy. Well, okay, but it's not convenient here. Wu Qianqian hesitated. Then we can go to your bedroom. You can take off your clothes and I'll treat you properly. Chu Yang said righteously, don't worry, other than the wound, I won't look at any other place. I, Chu Yang, guarantee with my integrity. Hearing this, the dukes below felt as if they had been struck by lightning. It's really rare to see a person so shameless. You're already so fucking shameless. What integrity do you still have? You even dare to guarantee with your integrity? Then, Wu Qianqian hesitated. All the dukes prayed to the heavens, please don't agree, don't agree, don't agree, then I'll have to trouble you, Divine Dr. Chu. Wu Qianqian's slightly shy voice poured a basin of cold water on the duke's hopes. Lan Chang'e couldn't help but shout, Wu Xian. Another duke was even more heartbroken. He shouted, Wu Xian, he can't, this little guy is up to no good. You have to see his wolf's ambition clearly. His voice sounded as if he was about to cry. Chu Yang said guiltily, I didn't expect that I would be questioned by so many people here today after saving so many people. If you're worried, I'll take my leave. Wu Qianqian said, it's just a treatment. Divine Doctor, you don't have to take it to heart. Please come with me. Chu Yang said hesitantly, This isn't good? Chu Yang's voice was filled with endless hypocrisy. Hearing this, all the dukes below were furious. They couldn't wait to rush up and smash this bastard into smithereens, pretending to be obedient after receiving benefits. This was a classic example. Chapter 993. Wu Qianqian said, Mister, you said just now that a doctor has the heart of a parent. Why are you rejecting it now? She heard Chu Yang, that bastard, say in a voice that was full of joy but also stammering, as if he was in a difficult position, forget it. Since Mrs. said so, then it would be too unreasonable for me to refuse. Immortal, please take off your clothes. What I mean is, let's go take a look at your wounds. Then, the sound of tables and chairs could be heard. Both of them should have stood up. Mister, this way please. Wu Qianqian said. Miss, please go first. Chu Yang's voice was full of anticipation. Then, there was no sound from inside. Obviously, the two of them had gone to take a look at the wound. Downstairs also fell into silence. Everyone was like a group of ducks that were struck by lightning, stunned. They did not expect that Wu Xian would invite Chu Yang into her room in the end. Beast. After a while, an angry, sorrowful and heartbroken roar came from downstairs. Chu Yang, you're really a beast. Which one of them was stupid? There was no confusion at all. Why did Wu Xian do such a thing in front of so many people? Did she not care about her daughter's reputation at all? Her reputation? Not at all. Wu Xian might not care much, but she was definitely not someone who looked down on herself so much. Now that she did such a thing, it could only mean one thing. She was already annoyed by their pestering during this period of time. And Chu Yang's appearance had provided him with an excellent shield. After entering the room, would she really take off her clothes to treat her wound? Everyone knew that it was impossible. But when they thought of what happened today, they no longer had the courage to appear in front of Wu Qianqian. She did not hesitate to destroy her own reputation to get rid of their pestering. It could be seen how much she hated them. Why bother with it? They had really forced her into a corner. It was precisely because they were smart people that they thought things through very thoroughly. At this moment, everyone understood Wu Qianqian. But at the same time, they also felt resentment towards Chu Yang, who was used as a shield, and some sympathy. They wondered if this guy realized that he was only a shield after entering Wu Xian's room. He must feel very strange, right? Beast. Serves you right for being treated like this. Everyone was fantasizing about the treatment that Chu Yang was about to receive from Wu Xian. Their spirits were triumphant, and they all left dejectedly upstairs. Chu Yang and Wu Qianqian walked into the inner chamber. Wu Qianqian burst into laughter. Chu Yang sighed helplessly. Senior Martial Sister Wu, I've really suffered because of you. Now, when I walk out of here, there will be love rivals everywhere. But I'm clearly innocent. Wu Qianqian snorted and said, Are you innocent? Chu Yang rubbed his nose and coughed incessantly. I won't force you anymore. Wu Qianqian leisurely sat down and took off her veil. Her beautiful eyes gazed at Chu Yang's face. She looked at him deeply for a while, and her face flushed as she said, Did you recognize me that night? Chu Yang chuckled. Other than Senior Sister Wu, I've never seen a woman of your age who trusts me so much. Wu Qianqian suddenly realized, yes, that pill. She laughed self-deprecatingly. I shouldn't have eaten it so happily and let you recognize me. Wu Qianqian sighed. This sigh was more of self-pity, because she knew that if she were to experience it again, she would not hesitate to take that pill again. Because that pill was given to her by the person she loved and the person she trusted the most. At that time, no matter how smart a woman was, her heart would not be guarded at all. Chu Yang chuckled and said, Senior Martial Sister Wu, instead of being an empress in the lower three heavens, you have to go through so much trouble to come to the upper three heavens. You must be here to look for me, right? Wu Qianqian's face immediately turned red. But I'm here to look for you. No matter what I do, my ultimate goal is to help you. But you've always avoided this question before. Why are you bringing it up so calmly today? Wu Qianqian's heart thumped, as if it was about to jump out of her mouth. She wanted to speak, but she felt that she could not speak. Her head was dizzy, and she almost fainted. She thought of a possibility. Could it be that Chu Yang is going to accept me? Is he confessing to me? Wu Qianqian's heart beat like a drum, but she bravely raised her head and looked at Chu Yang. Her eyes were full of tenderness. This was the first time in her life that she had dared to look at the man she loved so deeply with such a bold gaze. Chu Yang didn't know what it meant to raise his head and stare. It represented Wu Qianqian's endless perseverance, the deepest hope in her heart, and the strong expectation. The feelings of a young girl were like a dream and a poem. Which young girl did not want to spend the rest of her life with the person she loved? If she was proud of someone, she would not leave him even in old age. How could Wu Qianqian not want to? It was just that she had always restrained herself. She buried this love deep in her heart and did not dare to say it out. But it did not mean that she did not have such hope in her heart. Now, Chu Yang took the initiative to bring it up. Wu Qianqian was finally brave for once. Her long-time concealment disappeared at this moment. At this moment, she did not want to restrain herself anymore. She only needed to wait for Chu Yang to say it, and she would fly into the arms of the man she yearned for day and night. She dared to love and hate. She did not want to be pretentious like other girls. She looked at Chu Yang fervently. Chu Yang smiled and said, Actually, I just figured it out. Wu Qianqian's face was red. She looked at Chu Yang with determination and said softly, What did you figure out? At this moment, her eyes were misty. Her mind was filled with unreality. He only figured it out now. He only figured it out now. He figured it out now. Wu Qianqian only felt a bitterness in her heart. She almost cried. When I saw you that day, I should have thought of it. It was just that I did not think of it. Chu Yang looked up at Wu Qianqian. Senior Wu, don't blame me. Why would I blame you? Wu Qianqian said with a trembling voice. I have never blamed you. Chu Yang smiled in relief and said, if I'm not wrong, senior sister Wu came to find me this time for brother Bu Tian, right? For brother Bu Tian? Wu Qianqian only felt dizzy again. She could not help but mutter a question. For a moment, she only felt very confused and did not know what to say. Did Tai Butian ask you to find me? Chu Yang looked at her warmly. Actually, I should have thought of it. Wu Qianqian was a little confused. At the same time, she felt a faint pain in her heart. She forced herself to control her voice and asked, what should you have thought of? She thought, did he know that Tai Butian was a girl? Did he know that Tai Butian gave birth to a son for him? Of course, senior sister Qian is the empress after all. If not for such an important matter, how could you leave Iron Cloud and the lower three heavens so easily? Chu Yang laughed. Wu Qianqian looked at Chu Yang in a daze. Suddenly she felt bitter. The empress? So, it must be Tai Butian who asked you to come. And, for Tai Butian to be so anxious or so cautious, it should be the issue of his children, right? Chu Yang said indifferently, as far as I know, Tai Butian is the only direct descendant of the royal family in the Iron Cloud Empire. So, he asked you to find me? Wu Qianqian's heart slowly sank. From the clouds of happiness, it fell all the way to the endless abyss. At this moment, she felt that her hands and feet were ice cold. Even her heart seemed to have been frozen stiff in the land of 10,000 years of ice. What exactly did you think of? Wu Qianqian's hands on the table unconsciously clenched tightly. She used all the strength in her body. When she asked this question, there was only a faint and hopeless trace of hope in her heart. Senior sister Wu, please forgive me for being blunt. Chu Yang pondered for a while and finally decided to be frank. I see that senior sister Wu is still a pure and innocent girl. And senior sister Wu and Tai Butian have been married for some time. May I ask senior sister Wu, does Tai Butian have any hidden illness? Hidden illness. Wu Qianqian's hands slowly loosened. She let go weakly. She only felt cold and hot all over. Her eyes were somewhat blank. That's right. Chu Yang said, there are 3 ways to be unfilial, and having no descendants is the worst. In my opinion, this is the only reason why a newly married emperor of a generation would send his own empress to find me. Because other than you, no one knows where I have gone. Your guess is really right. She does have a hidden illness. Wu Qianqian smiled softly. Her smile was so sad, helpless, hopeless, and heartbroken. So I was wrong? Wu Qianqian was so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. Her emotions were so intense that she almost wanted to cut her own throat. If you don't give me hope and let me continue to love bitterly, that's fine. But just now, you ignited all my hope. But it was extinguished in an instant. How cruel. Although I know you didn't do it on purpose. It's because you want to twist it completely, but, to me, that's too cruel. Senior sister Wu, you don't have to be so sad. Chu Yang saw her expression and comforted her. This is not a serious illness. Since senior sister Wu has found me, I will definitely help. I guarantee that the illness will be cured. He smiled warmly. No matter what, Tai Butian is also my good brother. How can I not care about his matters? Wu Qianqian slowly nodded and said, yes, thank you very much. She really has a hidden illness. And her illness, other than you in this world, no one else can cure her. Wu Qianqian seemed to be sleepwalking when she said this. She used all her strength to keep her voice calm and indifferent. But her heart was already broken into pieces. I understand now. In your heart, I am already a married woman. Empress. Thinking of these 2 words, Wu Qianqian suddenly felt very strange. She wanted to cry and laugh at the same time. Please recommend me. Chapter 994. Chu Yang sighed in his heart. He almost did not dare to look at Wu Qianqian's miserable expression. He knew that he had brought up Wu Qianqian's sad matter, but there was no other way. Wu Qianqian was Tai Butian's empress after all. Although he had no scruples, only his own heart could not be crossed. Although Tai Butian was an emperor, he was still a brother that he acknowledged. Some things had touched Chu Yang's bottom line. Even if he were to be beheaded, he would never accept Wu Qianqian. Once Tai Butian recovered, Wu Qianqian's vague feelings would be buried deep. Wu Qianqian's pain could only continue. Senior Sister Wu, don't worry. When the heaven passage opens, I will accompany you to the lower 3 heavens to cure Brother Tai's illness. Chu Yang gritted his teeth and said it all in one breath. Wu Qianqian's eyes were empty, as if she did not hear him. Chu Yang felt terrible. The only thing that was certain about this matter was that Tai Butian did have an unmentionable illness. But for Wu Qianqian to be able to come up, there must be other reasons. Wu Qianqian's current expression also showed that she was deeply in love with him. From Wu Qianqian's expression, Chu Yang seemed to see a huge whirlpool. But he forced himself not to think about it, not to throw himself into that whirlpool. He even forced himself to stay away. He forced himself not to care, not to ask, and to turn a blind eye. Wu Qianqian's pain was indescribable, but how could Chu Yang's heart feel better? Humans were not plants, how could they be emotionless? When he was in the lower 3 heavens, his heart was filled with Jianghu. But this did not mean that he turned a blind eye to Wu Qianqian's deep feelings. He was only trying his best to avoid it. He could not let Jianghu down. However, his heart was clear that Wu Qianqian was like Jianghu in his previous life to him. It could even be said that they were the same. In fact, he had even helped Chu Yang more than he had. The only thing that was lacking was that she had not given him her virginity. That was all. The lower 3 heavens was chaotic, and Chu Yang was in charge of Butian Pavilion. He was full of glory and a halo. On the surface, he could change the world with a flip of his hand. Endless mystery and glory belonged to the 3 words King of Hell Chu. However, one must know that Chu Yang himself couldn't do anything. A good man needs 3 helpers. To build a fence, you still need 3 stakes. Even if Chu Yang had hundreds of clever schemes, what could he do? But at that time, there was only one person who was worthy of Chu Yang's complete trust, and that person was Wu Qianqian. It was Wu Qianqian who had single-handedly taken care of the internal affairs for him. Everything, no matter how big or small, had passed through Wu Qianqian's hands. Only after she had sorted them out did they reach Chu Yang's hands. Chu Yang gave the order and used his wisdom. However, Wu Qianqian was the one who was in charge of implementing the plan. For the sake of Chu Yang, this naive and innocent girl had forced herself to mature. She had forced herself to accept any knowledge, even if it was a cruel conspiracy that she was unwilling to accept. All for the sake of helping him. With Chu Yang around, she would do her best to help. If Chu Yang wasn't here, she would be Chu Yang. At the same time, he had to carry out his duties well. He had to do 2 things at the same time. Multitasking. He even did it himself. When he was sitting on the seat of King of Hell Chu, it wasn't just an act. There were some things that required King of Hell Chu to do personally. When King of Hell Chu did it, he had to do it with cruel means worthy of the name King of Hell Chu. Or it could be said that it wasn't strange for some ruthless officials to do it. But don't forget, Wu Qianqian was just a weak girl who wasn't even 20 years old. At that time, it had only been half a year since she had left the mountain to become King of Hell Chu's right-hand woman in Iron Cloud. When she was on the mountain, she was still naive and innocent. Half a year later, she would make a decision to kill. She would issue an order to bleed thousands of miles. She would use her delicate hands to do cruel things. She would let both her subordinates and her enemies know that the person in front of her was King of Hell Chu. Because she was wearing that black robe. She was wearing that mask. Because the person who was supposed to be wearing a black robe and a golden mask wasn't here at the moment. He was in an extremely dangerous place. The more real her act was, the safer her loved one would be. Therefore, Wu Qianqian did it without hesitation. Every time she returned, She would vomit until her liver and intestines were broken. Who would know? How cruel was it for a young girl to create those bloody scenes of hell with her own hands? Who would know? Especially for a young girl who had just stepped into Jianghu. She had to do such disgusting and cruel things. She had to do it with her own hands. Who would know the cruel torture of her heart? From this point of view, Wu Qianqian was much more tired than Chu Yang. Because she didn't just pay twice as much. She also paid with her mind and love. When Chu Yang was in danger, Wu Qianqian had to use her identity as king of Hell Chu more than once to bear the burden and die for Chu Yang. She had no regrets. Because of her, Chu Yang could go out without worry. He could travel thousands of miles without worry. He could do whatever he wanted in Jianghu. He could create a legend that belonged to King of Hell Chu. What if he didn't have her? No one could answer this question. Even if Tai Budian, the emperor of a generation, were to answer this hypothetical question, Tai Budian could responsibly say, if it wasn't for Wu Qianqian, even if Chu Yang succeeded, he would have to pay 100 times more than now. In front of outsiders, Wu Qianqian was cold and blooded. She would devise strategies in a tent. She would watch the winds and clouds with a smile. When she was alone, she would curl up in the quilt and cry until her liver and intestines were broken. She would vomit until her whole body was weak. This was how she created Chu Yang's legend. But Chu Yang couldn't accept her. Chu Yang still wanted to leave. Wu Qianqian could only continue to wear that black robe and that mask. She would silently guard the situation after her sweetheart left. But who would have thought that every time she put on that black robe and that mask, her heart would shatter once? Who would know the kind of heart-wrenching pain that one would experience every day? It wasn't difficult to forget a person. As long as one left that environment and started one's life anew, one would sooner or later be engraved in one's bones. It would turn into a faint whisper in one's dreams in the middle of the night. But you wear his clothes every day, wear his mask every day, use all the methods he taught you every day, and deal with the countless things he had dealt with in the past. You even have to imitate his voice every day when you speak, and completely follow his style when you do things. You would repeat this for a long time. You want to forget? How ridiculous! Chu Yang was fully aware of all this. He was fully aware of it. Such deep feelings could even move the heaven and earth. Even though Chu Yang had the nickname of King of Hell, he wasn't a cold-hearted person. He was also a man. He was also a hot-blooded man. Wasn't he moved by Wu Qianqian's sacrifice? Didn't he have any love for Wu Qianqian? Even Chu Yang himself didn't believe this sentence. Didn't he want to accept it? No one would be willing to let down such deep feelings. But Chu Yang couldn't accept it. He could only let it down. Because at that time, Chu Yang's heart was tied to a knot from his previous life, Mo Qing Wu. Before Mo Qing Wu's matter was resolved and before Chu Yang was satisfied, Chu Yang would never involve himself in any relationship. Therefore, he resolutely chose to leave immediately after the matter was over. On one hand, it was because the matter of the 3 days couldn't wait. On the other hand, it was also because Chu Yang was running away in a sorry state. He was running away from Wu Qianqian's gentle net. He had the heart to cut off Wu Qianqian's feelings with his heartlessness. How could Chu Yang's heart not hurt? When he left, he knew that Wu Qianqian was finally going to marry Tai Budian. Although he heaved a sigh of relief, how could his heart not hurt? How could he not feel a mixture of emotions? How could he not feel guilty? How could he not feel ashamed? How could he not be heartbroken? A man was a man after all. Even if he was a hero, he was still a man. A man would have the mentality of monopolizing. This had nothing to do with morality or character. This was human nature. But what could Chu Yang say? If you couldn't give her the happiness she wanted, wouldn't you allow her to leave? Therefore Chu Yang left first. And he didn't go back to visit the lower 3 days. After all, the lower 3 days was the place where he was born. It was the place where he fought. His sect, his friends and comrades were here. There were countless things that he couldn't let go of. Why didn't he go back to visit? Although he was busy, he would have time to go back once. It would only take a few days to go back and forth. But he didn't go back. Because he was afraid. He was afraid that he would see Wu Qianqian when he went back. He didn't mean to hurt her but hurt her the most. The indescribable guilt in his heart made him sad every time he thought of it. He could only bless Wu Qianqian, Tai Budian and the two of them. If Wu Qianqian hadn't decided to marry Tai Budian, Chu Yang would have gone back. Mo Qingwu's matter was already very successful. She was accepted as a disciple by the two supreme martial artists. She was very safe. Chu Yang's guilt in his previous life was also partly compensated. His heart could finally feel a little better. Why didn't he go back? In this world, there was no such thing as monogamy. It was normal to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. It had been like this for thousands of years. Women were used to it and there was nothing unacceptable about it. What was there that men couldn't accept? Did it feel good to watch a woman who loved him deeply be tortured by lovesickness until she died? But Wu Qianqian married Tai Budian, which cut off Chu Yang's thoughts of going back to visit. The less he went back, the happier Wu Qianqian would be. There would be a day when her memory faded and she would bury the past deep in her heart. When she no longer thought about it, her heart would be at peace. If he went back when she wasn't at peace, it would only make her more miserable. I've already let her down. Why should I go back and hurt her? So Chu Yang wanted to go back countless times, but he restrained his impulse in the end. Now, they met again in the upper 3 heavens. So what? Even if they were the same, she was after all someone else's wife. A friend's wife, a brother's wife, a comrade's wife. What could Chu Yang do? Seeing Wu Qianqian sitting there in a daze, Chu Yang sighed and said, "If senior sister Wu doesn't have anything else, I'll take my leave first." Wu Qianqian said woodenly, "There's nothing else." Chu Yang looked at her silently for a while. Finally, he stood up and was about to leave. Although he felt that his steps were heavy, he could only leave. Wu Qianqian's somewhat woodenly eyes turned. Looking at the black robe leaving, the corners of her mouth revealed a trace of sadness. At this moment, a cold voice said, "Little one, I've tolerated you for a long time. You still want to leave?" Chapter 995. Chu Yang was startled. Just as he was about to speak, he realized that he had been imprisoned. He couldn't even move his lips. His whole body was stiff. Wu Qianqian shuddered. "Teacher." This white figure was, of course, Feng Yuro. Feng Yuro let Chu Yang stand there. She floated in and sat opposite Wu Qianqian. Wu Qianqian finally realized that Chu Yang was abnormal. She asked in panic, "Teacher, what did you do to him?" Feng Yuro said lightly, "I just punished him to stand there for a while. I haven't settled the score." Wu Qianqian was slightly relieved. She said, "Then, what about Teacher Yu?" She knew that Feng Yuro was gentle and doted on her a lot. Even if she was furious, Chu Yang wouldn't be in danger with her around. But in comparison, Yu Lingshue's killing intent was stronger and his temper was also more irritable. If Yu Lingxue was here, perhaps, your Teacher Yu has something to do. Feng Yuro said lightly, "I was just worried about you being here alone, so I came up to take a look. I didn't expect to meet this bastard the moment I came." "He's not a bastard," Wu Qianqian explained weakly. Feng Yuro snorted heavily. Wu Qianqian didn't dare to speak anymore. "This is the man you love deeply, right?" Feng Yuro pointed at Chu Yang and said coldly, "You're wearing a black robe because of him? You don't even wear the robe that can defend against swords and sabers that Teacher gave you? You're depressed because of him? You agreed to stay in the upper 3 heavens and be our disciple because of him?" "Teacher." Wu Qianqian stood up in panic and knelt down with a thud. "I'm guilty. But I acted on my own accord. He didn't know anything about it. If Teacher is angry, just punish me. Please don't blame him. It has nothing to do with him." "Silly girl." Feng Yuro sighed. "Why is he worthy of your love? What's so good about him? Cowardly and irresponsible. Facing a girl who loves him deeply, he can be so heartless and heartless. Why are you so silly? There are so many heroes and outstanding talents in this world. Why do you have to take a fancy to such a person? Master. Wu Qianqian stammered, but stubbornly said, Chu Yang, he's not as unbearable as you say. Feng Yuro glared at him. Shut up. He stretched out his hand and pulled Chu Yang over like a puppet. Then he stood upright in front of the two men. Feng Yuro suppressed her anger and asked, Your name is Chu Yang? Chu Yang was stupefied. Speak. Feng Yuro said angrily. Master, it seems that your restriction has not been opened yet. Wu Qianqian cautiously reminded. Feng Yuro waved her hand and Chu Yang found that he could move again. However, Chu Yang did not look surprised. Instead, he smiled faintly and asked, You are Master Feng? Feng Yuro's restriction made Chu Yang's heart tremble. He had only felt such an overwhelming feeling from Zi Xiecheng. Although Feng Yuro was slightly weaker, she wasn't someone that the current Chu Yang could deal with. Neither was she someone that the current sword spirit could deal with. Feng Yuro said indifferently, That's me. Chu Yang said casually, Then, I'm Chu Yang. Feng Yuro was infuriated. How dare an ignorant kid be mentioned in the same breath as me? Chu Yang smiled and said, Maybe not in Master Feng's eyes, but in my mouth, we're already on the same level. Feng Yuro sneered. You're indeed a tough nut to crack. Master Feng, you flatter me, Chu Yang said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. It's just that compared to ordinary people, I'm still somewhat tough. But why don't you dare to take responsibility for my disciple? Feng Yuro took a breath and asked. Chu Yang looked at Wu Qianqian with a complicated expression and said, When did Master Feng know that I don't want to take responsibility? Do you know that I have my reasons for not taking responsibility? What reasons? Feng Yuro frowned. Wu Qianqian asked anxiously, Master, please don't ask any more. Feng Yuro waved her hand. Today, I'll get to the bottom of this matter. If there's no chance, Qianqian, you'd better give up and concentrate on your cultivation from now on. Even if you're willing, I still want to test whether you're worthy of my precious disciple. With what? My disciple can't get married? Chu Yang smiled bitterly. Let me ask you, is Qianqian good-looking? Feng Yuro asked. Not at all. Senior Sister Wu is an outstanding beauty. In the entire heavenly layer, in terms of looks, figure and temperament, there are very few girls who can be compared to Senior Sister Wu, Chu Yang said seriously. Then, Qianqian's temper isn't good? Not at all. Senior Sister Wu's character is gentle, soft on the outside but tough on the inside. She has a rare good temper. Then, Qianqian's status isn't high? This has nothing to do with status. Besides, Senior Sister Wu and I are of the same origin. What status is there to talk about? Since that's the case, it's her cultivation that's not good enough for you. Master Feng, you're joking. This matter isn't a competition. Then, it's Qianqian who doesn't love you enough? No. Senior Martial Sister Wu is deeply in love with me, and I am well aware of that. Or do you think that Qianqian isn't a good wife? Not at all. No matter who it is, if he can marry a girl like Senior Sister Wu, it's a blessing that he has cultivated for 3 lifetimes. Then, I don't understand. Feng Yuro was really surprised this time. Then why don't you accept her? Good looks, good character, good temperament, and deep love. Is there something wrong with Chu Yang's head? Chu Yang smiled bitterly. He was originally unhappy that he was restrained by Feng Yuro. The confrontation earlier was a display of his emotions. But as he spoke, this anger had disappeared without a trace. You let her disciple down, how can you blame her master for finding trouble with you? Master Feng, I'd like to say a few words. I hope you can let me finish my words. Don't interrupt me, Chu Yang said lightly. But say it, Feng Yuro said straightforwardly. Chu Yang chuckled. He casually pulled a stool over and sat down in a calm and steady manner. Feng Yuro raised her eyebrows, but she finally controlled herself and didn't get angry. I, Chu Yang, am an ordinary man. Before I met Senior Sister Wu, I already had someone I loved. But due to various reasons, we didn't get together. Chu Yang said slowly. If there wasn't the crisis of Beyond the Heavens sect, perhaps I would work hard to improve myself step by step to get closer to the person I love. Then, there would only be the two of us, living happily together. Now, the heavenly layer is filled with the flames of war. The upper three heavens and the third three heavens also follow the law of the jungle. This situation has persisted for 10,000 years. As a result, the number of women is much more than men. Under such circumstances, it's normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Although I, Chu Yang, am a man of the heavenly layer, but in my heart, I still want to be with only one person, to grow old together. This was my thought in the past. But later, I changed. Because of senior sister Wu, this belief was shaken. I used to think that deep down, I'm a devoted man. I don't deny that I once imagined having 3 wives and 4 concubines, but at that time, I didn't think I could do it. When I reached Iron Cloud, I wanted to change my fate, but there was no one I could trust. There was only senior sister Wu. So, I could only rely on her help to realize my dreams step by step. Slowly, feelings grew. Senior sister Wu fell in love with me, but I, Chu Yang, am not a cold-hearted man. Falling in love with me is a definite thing. Senior sister Wu has feelings for me, and I have feelings for senior sister Wu as well. Speaking till here, Wu Qianqian's eyes suddenly lit up. Feng Yuro frowned. She was about to ask when Chu Yang raised his hand to stop her. Master Feng, please let me finish. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to continue if my train of thought gets messed up. Feng Yuro frowned. She could only listen patiently. Both of us have feelings for each other, but neither of us exposed it. I deliberately avoided it, and senior sister Wu didn't want to make things difficult for me. Chu Yang's voice was very calm. There's always a first-come first-served rule. Even if I want to accept senior sister Wu, I have to make it clear to the person I love first. After that, whether I accept or not, I have no qualms about it. But before that, I would think of any actions as adultery. Not only would I let down the person I love, but I would also blaspheme the relationship between me and senior sister Wu. So, I suppressed everything. After the matters in the lower 3 heavens were settled, I immediately prepared to leave. I had once planned to go to the lower 3 heavens to find the woman I love. After I've settled down there, I'll come back. If the person I love is unwilling, I can only avoid it for the rest of my life. Anyway, although both of us had feelings for each other at that time, we didn't make it clear. Senior sister Wu also understood me, and I also understood her. This is my truest thought. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. I'm a man and I'm also lustful. In this aspect, I'm no different from any other man. But I think that my advantage is that I can give respect to the person I love. No matter if it's the woman I love deeply or senior sister Wu. But just when I was about to leave, senior sister Wu and the Emperor of Iron Cloud, Tai Budian, got engaged. Chu Yang's face revealed a touch of bitterness. Tai Budian is an overlord of his generation, an extraordinary man of his time. He has a heroic spirit and a beautiful heart. I, Chu Yang, admire him very much. More importantly, senior sister Wu herself agreed to this matter. And Tai Budian is also my friend, brother, and comrade. If senior sister Wu didn't agree, and Tai Budian was coercing her, then even if he's the emperor of his generation, I would still fight for it, even at the expense of severing ties. If I can help him build Iron Cloud, I can also destroy Iron Cloud at that time. But that's not coercion. Since that's the case, how can I? At this point, Chu Yang paused for a while and then stopped. Feng Yuro obviously didn't know about this matter. Hearing this, she looked at Wu Qianqian doubtfully. But she saw that Wu Qianqian's heartbroken look was swept away. Her face was glowing, and she looked at Chu Yang without blinking. Her pair of sparkling little ears stood up high, and her face was flushed with shyness. She couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. She thought to herself, strange. I've reached the point where he didn't accept you, and you actually got excited. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.